support is being provided, including food, basic necessities, and essential services to assist displaced families. We continue to monitor them so that people can be comfortable whilst we are waiting for the unknown.
Staying with weather-related matters, Western Cape Disaster Management says work is underway to evacuate 64 Namibian tourists cut off by flooding in the Oudtshoorn area. Head of Department Colin Diner says the group is in good health, but accessing them remains a challenge. He adds that 4 other people stranded in the area have been evacuated and taken to some relatives. Camry Clark has more.
Hundreds of residents were evacuated overnight as an orange level 8 storm battered the Garden route, now downgraded to level 6. Evacuations took place in Prince Albert and the Bito municipality as a precaution. The Pesang Valley informal settlement was also evacuated after the river burst its banks, flooded homes and the Beacon Island Hotel. However, 64 Namibian tourists remain stranded near Oudtshoorn due to flooding and severe weather. Head of Disaster Management Colin Diner says efforts to reach them are ongoing.
64 people from Namibia were cut off in Oudtshoorn. We are still in the process of accessing them, but they're all in good shape.
The Department of Human Settlements has also provided temporary emergency housing to displaced residents. Camry Clark, Eyewitness News.
The prosecution in the case against Member of Parliament Fadil Adams says it still has to verify outstanding issues, including his physical address ahead of his bail application. Adams is charged with defeating the ends of justice and fraud linked to alleged interference of police investigations. He is accused of interviewing 2 inmates at the Westville prison without proper authorization, thereby disrupting policing work. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
The state says Fadil Adams was escorted by police officers as well as Durban Metro Police Services to the Westville prison while he was not on official duties. He presented himself as a member of parliament to the prison officials, where he interviewed inmates Bonginkosi Dlamini and Sibusiso Ncengwa. The state says he used his phone to capture the interviews. State prosecutor Advocate Zolethu Mata said the state is opposing his bail, but at the same time has to verify his particulars.
We had addresses that were the disposal of the police. There are addresses that are provided. Some of are not even verified. And the court will accept that. When it comes to an issue of an address of any bail applicant before court, at least the state must be provided a reasonable opportunity to verify.
Meanwhile, one of Adams' lawyers said verifying his address should not be a difficulty, citing, like other members of parliament, he can be found at the parliamentary village in Cape Town. Adams is expected to apply for bail next week, Wednesday. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Pinetown.
Cabinet has commended South Africa's high level of expertise in diagnosing 2 cases of hantavirus. Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says the cases were diagnosed within 24 hours of the patient's admission this week. Ntshavheni was briefing the media in Parliament following yesterday's Cabinet meeting. Hantavirus is naturally found primarily in rodents and can cause illness in humans when they are exposed to it. She says Cabinet was also briefed about the circumstances that led to the hantavirus patients being admitted in South African hospitals from an international cruise ship. 3 people from that cruise ship have died from the virus.
Cabinet further congratulated the Department of Health for the speed and effectiveness in which they conducted contact tracing for people who came into contact with the hantavirus patients before the diagnosis was made. Cabinet wishes to allay any fear of another outbreak due to the prevalence of rats in some municipalities.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has arrived at the Vatican for talks with Pope Leo XIV. The visit follows weeks of tensions between the Vatican and the White House. The tensions stem from Trump's extraordinary criticism of Pope Leo over his anti-war stance. Last month, Trump took to social media to call the Pope weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. His remarks came after Leo called for peace in the Middle East war launched by Israel and the United States. The Pope and Rubio met for the first time last year at the Vatican, just days after Pope Leo's election. Gold is trading at $4,737.61 an ounce. The rand is at 16.27 to the dollar, 22.16 to the pound, 19.14 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $99.48 a barrel.
In Lombardy Estate, Pretoria, slow-moving traffic on Graham Leonard Road approaching Solomon Mahlangu. Also leaving the Pretoria CBD. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic in Hermanstad. This is on Eskiam Pahlele between Vormhagen and the R80.
In your sport, Khalil Ben Youssef defends Sipesihle Ndlovu amid discipline concerns. Bayern Munich laments a lack of killer instinct following the UEFA Champions League elimination. And Kane Williamson named in New Zealand squad for Ireland and England tests.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 14 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN, the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro has called an emergency council meeting to address severe weather incidents affecting parts of the Eastern Cape.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Thursday, the 7th of May. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman, wherever you're listening to us in 702 land. Welcome to the show. So much to talk about today, including as the fallout from that explosive letter from Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Dada Morero, continues. More information about the finances of the city of Johannesburg. We will be facing in July a new water tariff. More details on that at 10 to 4 from MoneyWeb's Hilton Tarrant. The Madlanga Commission is hearing an extraordinary story. Not for the first time, it should be said, but the detail that is coming out with this particular witness is extensive. It's all about how a massive amount of confiscated cocaine, I think the value is around 200 million rand, was stored in a place that seemed to be specially chosen for its vulnerability.
None of the DPCI officers were at the time actually allowed to keep exhibits. This is the reason the DPCI office did not have a SAP13 register. The DPCI office was particularly vulnerable and was not suitable to store exhibits, let alone of the quantity we were asked to store. Both Brigadier Newswa and General Sanona knew this.
Yeah, some of the details of that particular vulnerability. A security contract that cost less than 600 Rand a month but was never renewed. There were no guards for premises that were easily accessible from the street. The building was accessed via a system that shared the passcode widely amongst officers and left no trace of who came in and when. No surprise then that the drugs, which by the way was stored in garbage bags, not evidence bags, was stolen. Alpha Ramoshwana has that extraordinary story. The Eastern Cape is getting pounded by storms, as you heard a moment ago with Mbali. Mongezi Koko is down there. He'll join us shortly. And after 5:30, once again, as we always do Monday to Thursday, we'll enjoy some music. Here's a question. What is the oldest song in your playlist? Here's a sample from one of my colleagues. It's actually one of the most recent songs in my playlist. Well, not quite, but Earth, Wind and Fire. Great one. We'll love to get your your details out of your playlist. Send it right now if you like. Or later in the show, we'll talk music after 5:30, as I said. On the markets, the rand is having another good day, trading at 16 rand 25 against the dollar. That's an improvement of 15 cents over the past 24 hours. A euro will cost you 19 rand 12. That's 15 cents better for our currency. And continuing the improvement, 22 rand 13 will get you a pound. That's a gain for the rand against the UK currency of 20 cents. All shares up again today, though nowhere near on the scale of yesterday. A gain of 220 points. Still, up is up. The resources index leading the way again today, up by 1.3%. With the gold price up by $49.19, no surprise that gold stocks are having a good one. DRD Gold up by 4.5%. Harmony and Pan-African Resources up by 4%. Datatech has had a good day today too, up by 3.2%. On the downside, Life Healthcare is down by 11%. Sasol is weakened by 7%. That's due to a further fall in the oil price, down by $3.67 today, with the barrel of Brent crude currently trading at $98.14. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the market news. He's with us for the first time at 4:25. Tolakele Mganga has the sports. That Betway Premiership title race just tightened up again a little bit last night. Great stuff. This is what you want in football. Karabo Chali has the traffic news, and Mbali Dlamini joins us at 3:30 once again with the latest news. This is 702 Drive. We are live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear about it here first. But of course, if you know something yourself that we don't know a great deal about, or we don't know about at all, please do be in touch on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. If you're down in the Eastern Cape, by the way, please do give us a call. It seems like places along the Garden Route, Gqeberha, and other areas close to the coast are taking an absolute hammering. The Gamtoos River, which is in the Jeffreys Bay, Humansdorp area, if I'm not mistaken. That was at the Sundays River. Anyway, the Gamtoos River, I'll double check, that is also flooding with serious consequences for people in the area. And I would have thought an impact on agriculture too. If you want to call us from any of those places and just describe for us what's going on, those numbers apply as well. 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. It's 14 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So we'll cover all the big news, but we'll also talk about the little things in your life that tell us something, maybe about you, something about our society, something about the way we relate to each other. Yesterday, we just got wonderful feedback from you when I asked you about interactions with strangers that made your heart lift and just gave you a better feeling about yourself, the city or town where you live, and the country we are all trying to ensure moves forward in some way. There was great stuff there. Today, though, we're bringing it a little bit narrow and asking you this question. What do you have on the desk where you work, and why is it there? I would just have to say that my main desk really is my desk at home. And what I have there is a whole lot of paper. And I kind of know the general area where the paper is, so it's not completely unmanageable. Not much as I look up, although there is a nice painting on the wall. But what I do have in one corner is, on a big piece of paper, the word in bold block capitals, stretch. And I always forget to look at it. So I'm going to have to back that up maybe with a little prompt on my phone or something on my watch, giving me a little shock, telling me that actually you do need to get up and walk around. Refuel Letsua producing the show today. What do you have on at your desk?
Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. I was actually about to ask why you have stretch on. I thought you were going to say stretch your mind. I don't know. I was going
purely physical.
Different places with that word, stretch.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's always good to remember to stretch. So I, like you, I have two desks. We have one here that we have shared desks. So what I usually have on my desk, if anyone notices, is always like a book. It reminds me you need to read. So I try to read, because, you know, like some of these publishers will send us new books, or I just have a book that I got from home where, you know, if I've got 2 minutes, if I'm drinking coffee, I can just quickly read that. And then in my drawer, I have a mug with a big heart on it.
Yes.
So that just gives me hope that there's love and good life out there, you know? And at home, I've got a little painting of a dog. 'Cause
Yes.
I love dogs. A little dog. But it's not really a painting. It was a drawing from one of my nieces. You know those drawings where you're not really sure that it looks like a dog, but the painter or the drawer says, "Auntie, I drew you a dog." So it's a dog that doesn't look like a dog, and I've framed it, and I think it's very beautiful.
How about you, Karawachali? Anything at your desk? You were saying at work you have nothing, eh?
Yeah, no. I share my desk with Amu, my colleague on the traffic desk. So I can't really personalize it that much. I wish I could. If it was my own, trust me, there'll be pictures of my family there, figurines and stuff. But there's this lady we work with, Lindy.
Yes.
Our building maintenance manager, I think. Wow, her desk is so colorful. There's little figurines. There's colorful stickers all over her desk, reminders and stuff like that.
And
there's
in the plants, there's figurines in the plants, John.
Jeez, that
you
is
must
like a
actually take a
hectic-
visit, eh?
I will.
No, it's a beautiful, colorful desk, well decorated. So yeah, she put a huge effort in making it the way it is right now.
Give us your thoughts on that on 011-883-0702. We're going to get to some of the big issues in the news, the Madlanga Commission in a moment, the floods down in the Eastern Cape with Mongezi Koko. And after 4, we'll take a look at a new alliance called the African Democratic Alliance for Freedom and Progress. 52 different political groupings and parties getting together with the local government elections in mind. All of that coming up and more on 702 Drive. Let's start with the traffic, though, at 3:18. Let's see what's going on there. Karabo, how are we looking?
Well, I must say nothing much really happening on our roads. Pretty quiet at this stage. However, it is coming to its peak hour traffic. So some routes are starting to build up. I see there's already some delays in the Devland area heading towards Eldorado Park. That's on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12. Also leaving the Joburg CBD heading towards Boysons. Traffic a bit sluggish. M1 southbound approaching the Crown interchange. Also still leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand this time. Expect some delays. M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Patlu interchange in the city of Tshwane Lombardy Estate. Slow moving traffic on Graham Linwood Road approaching Solomon Mahlangu. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Friday, the Pala Pala report comes out at the Constitutional Court. Whatever the court says doesn't excuse the president from the responsibility he has to explain to us what was that money doing in the couch. The president had a whole bunch of dollars in his couch. What are you doing with money in your couch, bro? If the president is found to be wanting, what does the leadership of this country look like post Cyril Ramaphosa? Hey, Brapol Mashatile, man. He's a nice guy and everything. But he too, man. That's stories, man.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Are you ready for the magical Marble Family Fest? It's a luxury playground designed to excite and delight all ages. Food, fun and rhythm all collide to bring you unforgettable moments for you, your friends and your family. See what the creators of the luxurious Marble Circus have in store for you this Mother's Day weekend on the 9th and 10th of May at James and Ethel Gray Park. Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
Mzansi, the excitement is building. The 130th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July takes place on Saturday, 4 July. This year's theme, Country Allure, draws from the richness of our land. A celebration of heritage, freedom and style, inspired by our beautiful countryside. It's more than a race. It's where champions are made, stories are written, and greatness is unleashed. World-class horse racing, bold fashion, music, culture, and a day of endless excitement at Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse. Get your tickets now at Ticket Pro and release your glamour at the Hollywood Bets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Ask the question, what is the thing that you keep at your desk and why? Tapelo with this rather sobering comment says, unfortunately, nothing. A whole lot of us are unemployed. 21 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's go down to the Eastern Cape now, down to Gqeberha, where the absolute battering that so many places have taken as a result of the stormy and rainy weather is making its mark on the biggest city in the Eastern Cape. Mongezi Koko is there and joins us now. Mongezi, where are you now? And crucially, what have you seen so far today? Good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you, Ndate John. Well, I'm currently stationed in KwaZakele, which is an area here in Gqeberha, just a couple of kilometers away from the central business district. Now, KwaZakele is built close to a body of water, and we are seeing many isolated, yet it's quite a number of them. These incidents of floodings and homes sort of being destroyed and damaged by the ongoing inclement weather. Now, earlier today in Dr. John, there was a briefing by the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality and the mayor, who was touching a number of issues, just highlighting some of the challenges that the citizens continue to face here, and also indicating that the municipality would commence with an urgent council meeting to try and ascertain what exactly the situation on the ground is like and what comes next. Now, during her address, Baba Lwalobi, she is the mayor, she highlighted that 2,500 people so far have been displaced and rehoused in common places such as shelters, such as school halls and town halls, saying that these people are the ones that agreed to move voluntarily, and also very stressing that point that many people have refused to leave their homes despite these flood warnings, raising concerns over criminality and saying that they feel as though once they leave their homes unattended, they'll return to their belongings missing. However, the inclement weather seems to not be letting down. Last we checked with the South African Weather Service, the orange level 8 warning for heavy rains was scheduled to come to an end today. However, the rains are continuing. Now, to exacerbate this, it's accompanied by an orange level 6 warning for high winds. As we do know, Gqeberha is really prone to a lot of strong winds. So when these work in conjunction, you see shacks and homes that are made from irrigated iron really falling apart and not holding as the weather continues. Now, the mayor also did stress that there are available search and rescue personnel, this being from the metro itself, accompanied by the people from the province. And in addition to this, aid organizations such as Gift of the Givers have already also prepped their search and rescue personnel to be deployed at any stage, stressing that within an hour or two they will be ready to assist whatever the eventuality is. So far, no fatalities, no injuries reported, but great damage to people's homes and structures. There are several evacuation notices that have been issued. Just to give you a few, it's in Mission Vale, it's in Walmer, and it's here in KwaZakele, where people are urged to make sure that they move away from their homes and find the nearest shelter. And just to quickly give you an update on the Kucha Dam, Dr. John, it is now sitting at 113% of its capacity, and surrounding areas there and people living around the dam urged to move as a result of this inclement weather and the conditions seemingly worsening. The metro did not indicate when exactly the notices will be put down. At last count, they had said that perhaps on Friday, but now it seems as though there might be an extension to when people can stop being wary and just be calm and expect temperatures to return to normal.
Mongezi Koko down in the Eastern Cape, currently in KwaZakele in Gqeberha, and we'll be hearing from him, I'm sure, throughout the afternoon and over the next day or two as well, covering those terrible floods down in the Eastern Cape. If you've been affected by them or witnessed some of the mayhem and havoc that's been wreaked by this extreme weather, please do call us and just tell us how you're affected and what you're seeing. 26 minutes past 3.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Right, let's go to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, where a former officer in the Hawks, Jacobus Prinsloo, who was in charge of the Port Shepstone office, has been testifying about the theft from his offices of 200 million rand worth of cocaine. Listening to the state of that particular office and its readiness to keep secure such an important amount of evidence, such an incredibly valuable amount of illegal goods, one really wonders why it was taken there. Well, draw your own conclusions. Alpha Ramoshwana, very good afternoon to you, has been covering the Madlanga Commission. And Alpha, even though I think he was a major, if I'm not mistaken, or Colonel Prinsloo, was very much explaining the things that other people did that they shouldn't do. I got the sense that the commissioners felt that he could have done much, much more to stop this happening. What might have given me that idea, if indeed I'm right?
Good afternoon, John. Indeed, you are right. He's a Lieutenant Colonel, Jacobus Prinsloo. Today, really, the commissioner is questioning him about what exactly he did when he realized that several processes were flouted by his superiors when those 541 kilograms of drugs, cocaine, were transferred to his office in Port Shepstone. And he says there were a number of irregularities or red flags, in his words, that he saw from the moment that drugs arrived. The first irregularity was that the drugs were not sealed in an exhibit bag as per the norm. That John, you would understand that at a crime scene where contraband or narcotics, any form of drugs really, are found, they are seized in exhibit bags and they are taken to the lab for testing to confirm what kind of drug it is. In this case, however, this never happened, Dr. John, and the drugs came as they are. As they found, the way that they found them in the shipping container is how they arrived at the Port Shepstone Hawks office, and that was the first irregularity that he noticed. The other irregularity, of course, is what has been happening, or what has been said at the Madlanga Commission over the past 2 days, that how on earth were the drugs even allowed to be stored at the Port Shepstone office when there were many other police stations where they could have been stored at. It's irregular for drugs of that magnitude to be stored at a Hawks office.
Yes.
And the commissioners asked him, Dr. John, when he noticed the irregularities, what did he do? And he said that he could not disregard an instruction from his superiors, one of them being General Lisecha Sinona, to store the drugs at his office. In fact, he said he knew it was irregular, Dr. John, but he could not say no because there are serious consequences in the South African Police Service if you disregard an instruction from a superior. Let's take a listen to his testimony today at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
None of the DPCI officers were at the time actually allowed to keep exhibits. This is the reason the DPCI office did not have a SAP-13 register. The DPCI office was particularly vulnerable and was not suitable to store exhibits, let alone of the quantity we were asked to store. Both Brigadier Newswa and General Sinona knew this.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha, it's hard not to escape the conclusion. Two conclusions that I'll just put forward. The one is that this was deliberately stored in a place from which it would be easy to steal, and it'll be the job of the commission and hopefully investigating officers will then work out who actually made those decisions. But the other thing that struck me is, surely, I mean, when they make these huge drug busts, there's a big song and dance about it. The media's told about it. Surely somebody should have been tracking the progress of the evidence, and it would suggest that nobody was in any particularly energetic way actually trying to investigate whose drugs they were.
Yes, and Dr. John, to your second point, the KZN Hawks head Lisecha Sinona was on the scene. He was heavily involved. So his subordinates ordinarily would think that our big boss is here, so he's the one who's monitoring all of this. But we've heard over the past 2 days that Lisecha Sinona was heavily involved in the irregularities that were noted at during the drug bust and the transferring of those drugs to the Hawks' office.
Right.
And to your first point, there's been 8 break-ins between 2011 and 2021. at that very same office. So they knew very well that this office is vulnerable to break-ins, and despite that, they still stored them at the Hawks office in Port Shepstone.
Yeah, despite that, or some might say, well, because of that. It's a quite horrific story, actually, because we regularly hear from on high all this wringing of hands and stuff about how drugs are ruining our society. And here's an opportunity to take a huge amount of drugs off the street, but also use that to trace who's involved at the South African end of these syndicates that are wrecking so much of South African life. And what do? Put it in a place from which it can be easily stolen and recycled and resold. More to come. Hopefully that will be followed by news that actually somebody is going to be prosecuted. We live in hope. It's 28 minutes to 4. Right, let's go back to a very important court case, this around the legal sector code and BEE. We'll get those stories in a moment from Mbali Dlamini in this Eyewitness News, which is brought to you by ShopRite. Lower prices you can trust always. Mbali, you starting with that story, yeah?
That's correct, John. A very good afternoon. The advocate for the General Counsel of the Bar says the legal sector code is not only rational and reasonable, but necessary to drive meaningful transformation. Norman Arnser pointed to what he described as startling figures that show a slow pace of transformation in the legal sector. He was addressing a full bench in the North Gauteng High Court in a legal battle today, where 4 big law firms want to review the code gazetted by Trade Minister Parkstau in 2024. They have argued that code is fundamentally flawed, with more than 95% of legal practices exempted from compliance. But Arnser says the level of transformation in the sector has been slow.
This code that is under debate is not only rational, reasonable, but is also necessary. Otherwise, we are not going to have meaningful change in the advocates profession, the practicing advocates profession, especially in relation to black advocates and black women more particularly.
He says black female attorneys are mostly affected by the lack of transformation.
It's not good enough that many more of black and female advocates deserve to get the work so that they are also exposed to higher levels to practice in the first place, let alone higher levels.
The ANC in eThekwini has joined calls for the municipality to shut down all spaza shops owned by undocumented foreign nationals in the city. This represents a major development from the governing party in eThekwini and a political shift on its messaging regarding the matter. eThekwini has been at the center of anti-illegal immigration marches, which have turned violent in some parts. The ANC's newly formed regional task team recently met to consider the situation in that city. Party convener Tando Sabelo says the task team resolved that some things need to be done about businesses owned by undocumented foreign nationals.
We are going to engage our municipality, eThekwini municipality, to basically shut down these illegal businesses and refer all the illegal immigrants to the South African police services for processing and for deporting.
The DA's new parliamentary leader, George Mikalakis, says his focus will be to build the party to be the country's largest in the national election. Mikalakis believes the party has already built a strong foundation since its entrance into the Government of National Unity. He was voted into that position at a meeting in Parliament this morning, beating Andrew Whitfield and the party's Kevin Milam to the post. The election was necessitated by DA leader Jordan Hill-Lewis choosing not to return to Parliament since his election as party leader. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
George Mikalakis believes his almost 2-year tenure as chief whip to former DA leader John Steenhuisen has stood him in good stead to lead the party's parliamentary caucus. He's dismissed criticism that the DA has become more timid in the parliamentary benches since it entered government.
You will see a strong DA on principles, but we will also continue to be a reliable partner within the GNU for the sake of advancing this country.
With a local municipal background, Mikalakis says ahead of the November polls, it will be crucial for the DA's parliamentary caucus to advance municipal matters, particularly crime, law and order.
That currently is crippling the economic growth of this country, and that will absolutely be aligned in our efforts in Parliament.
Mikalakis says he's still to consider who to appoint as his chief whip. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the UK, passengers have been left stranded following rail issues across southern England. The disruption began at around 8:45 this morning due to a fault with radio systems used between drivers and signallers. Network Rail has apologised for the disruption caused to the passengers' journeys this morning. Sky News is reporting that an expert says the fault is very rare. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 14 and 17 degrees.
Erasmus Park heading towards Centurion. There's an accident seen on the N1 southbound. This is just before the R21 flying saucer interchange, causing heavy delays from Garsfontein Road. Lombardy Estate still in Tshwane. Slow-moving traffic on Graham Linwood Road. That's approaching Solomon Mahlangu. Santon heading towards Midrand. Traffic sluggish. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Butlu interchange.
A top story in EWN, the advocate for the General Counsel of the Bar says the legal sector code is not only rational and reasonable, but necessary to drive meaningful transformation.
In the news this week, fuel prices are rising yet again, but there is some relief for ShopRite shoppers. With ShopRite's bulk buying power, they're able to secure stock long before price increases, which means that they can keep their prices lower for much longer. So you can save on deals like Weet-Bix 900 grams for a low R52.99 and Rick Coffee 750 grams or 800 gram refill for only R129.99 each. Valid until Sunday 10 May. Lower prices you can trust, always.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
You are trying to represent your workers. You're trying to get them to have salaries that are in line with the category of the municipality. But the reality here is Johannesburg may be category 10, but does it have the budget of category 10? Because what Treasury is saying is they just don't have the money to even agree to that 10 billion rand agreement.
I think what Treasury is looking at, they're looking at it from a wrong point. Acknowledge the fact that the city might not necessarily be having the entire 10 billion at the same time. We then agreed to say the city must then look at its own finances and what is it that it can afford over a period of time. We then came to an agreement that indeed you will not implement it at once.
Mpho Tladinyane is the provincial secretary for SAMO.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Looking for something special to spoil your mom this Sunday? Celebrate Mother's Day with a memorable experience at Southern Sun. Treat mom to a delicious lunch, indulgent afternoon tea, or even an overnight stay at participating hotels this Sunday. Relax, reconnect, and savor every moment while our expert chefs and warm hospitality take care of the rest. Make this Mother's Day one she'll always remember. Book now at southernsun.com.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading vision enhancements, like Climate Eyes, which automatically adapts to changing light. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Joburg audiences are loving Pretty Woman the musical. Don't miss the Broadway and West End smash hit, packed with romance, laughter, and the unforgettable music of Bryan Adams. Now on stage at Monte Casino's Teatro for a limited season only until 31 May. Book your seats now at showtime.co.za. Beyond the movie, Pretty Woman, the love story you know, the musical you'll never forget. Brought to you by Showtime Management.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hey, John and the 702 team. I hope that you're all well. I think many South Africans are interested in this Fadil Adams arrest, and maybe if we can just have someone that gives us some background. I was reading a Daily Maverick article, that suggests Fadil Adams interviewed one of the alleged hitmen, for this ANC Youth League Secretary General, Sindiso Maqaba, who was assassinated. Maybe if we can just have more context and to know, like, is this the PKTT and Mr. Mkonazi trying to cover the tracks of crime intelligence, or is Fadil Adams a rotten apple? Can we just have some perspective on this?
Hi, John. I've got a friend who's a farmer in the Kocha area, which is in the Eastern Cape. And last year, they had about 56 mils of rain. Only 56 mils of rain last year. And the photos she sent me are quite remarkable of what they've had in the past 48 hours or so.
Dr. John, good day 702. In terms of office desk, currently I'm actually a sales rep, but when I did have a desk was when I was working for a bank, and it was a call center. So that time that you spend actually being on the phones, you needed something to just make sure you go through the day. And my thing was origami. So I think I probably got to make about 40 to about 45 figurines using origami. I would just not stop. Every time I completed one, I just want to have another one. Eventually, I had a very colorful desk. And every now and again, if there was a beautiful lady that deserved a flower, then I would make them a flower and give them to make their day sometimes, Malifa from Road Report.
Thanks. I mean, the question we asked you, what do you have on your desk and why? And there's some really interesting stories coming through. Nelvana says, the ribbon we used for my mom's funeral to honor breast cancer. All those reminders of important things. Jerry sent us a picture of what looks like a very well-used and well-worn... my mind's gone blank. What's the thing that the cube? Rubik's Cube. Yes, a Rubik's Cube. Anyway, it doesn't look like a completed sign, but he says, it helps me regain focus. 0727021702. Thanks. I was able to focus. I was doing like a little gesture with my hands, which is probably about as far as I actually got in solving a Rubik's Cube. 702 Drive, still to come on the show. We'll be taking a closer look at some issues around the city of Johannesburg as finance and basic services take center stage. This following a very strong letter sent by the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to Joburg's Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Murero. More on that a little later in the show. Right now it's sports time.
EWN Sport.
So Tolakele, who's title favourite now?
Definitely Orlando Pirates, without a shadow of a doubt.
So they've just got to win all of their games, and their goal difference is substantially better, isn't it?
Absolutely, John. They have a +6 positive goal difference, and which is something that Miguel Cardoso was brought attention to. The fact that Sundowns were only winning by a goal in a lot of their games. And here we are with roughly 3 games left in the season, and they've put themselves in a difficult position.
Okay, sum up for us what the position is.
Well, John, the Betway Premiership title race took another twist after leaders Mamelodi Sundowns were held to a 1-1 draw by Kaizer Chiefs. That point sees the Brazilians remain 3 points clear of second place Orlando Pirates, who have a game in hand. Sundowns held on for the draw after Jaden Adams was sent off in the second half, resilience that Miguel Cardoso has praised his side for.
I think the boys did very well in terms of the way they dedicated themselves with a heart on the game. If they should have had more mind, especially in the first half, I think we should have had more mind, because we allowed the first 20 minutes of such aggressivity that we saw from Kaizer Chiefs to take us in a little bit far away from the line we wanted to have in terms of control and finding the spaces and playing. I think the way we came in the second half with the changes we did brought us some more stability.
Co-coach Khalil Ben Youssef says Chiefs is pleased with Sipesihle Ndlovu's performances, although there's still room for improvement in his game. Ndlovu was at the centre of attention during last night's draw, with fans feeling the midfielder was overly aggressive in his challenges, including in an incident that resulted in Keanu Cupido suffering a fractured collarbone.
It's natural. I think the performance in Ndlovu was very good last few games. Unfortunately, he missed last game because he got a small injury. Now he will miss also next game because he will be at 3 yellow card. The performance of Ndlovu, we are working with some weak points that we have to correct, but we are so happy about his performance.
The UEFA Champions League final will be between PSG and Arsenal after the Parisians claimed an aggregate 6-5 win over Bayern Munich in the semi-finals. The loss for the Bavarians saw their treble hopes dashed as they were aiming to reach their first final in this competition since 2020. And speaking after their defeat, Vincent Kompany feels their comeback came too late in the game.
We had chances, so we cannot forget we had chances. If you put the team under pressure and they make mistakes can be a foul, like the red card. Mistake can be a penalty. If you put the team under pressure and they make mistakes, then you've done a lot of good things as well. But we just never got the decision for it. They're a top team. Congratulations to them. And for us, we've enjoyed the fight. And we will do everything we can to be better again next year.
And Kane Williamson will continue his pursuit of 10,000 test runs after being named in New Zealand's squad to play Ireland and England in May and June. Will Young has been left out in favour of Henry Nicholas, while there's a return for Carl Jameson and Will O'Rourke, with Jacob Duffy omitted as he awaits the birth of his child. The 19-man squad will play a one-off test against Ireland in May before a 3-test series against England starting on the 4th of June. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 13 minutes to 4, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by GWM, class-leading vehicles that help you navigate your journey. Karabo Charlie is also here to help you with a bit of navigation. What do we need to know?
Sure, John. Well, at this stage, Erasmus Park, Pretoria, heading towards Centurion, there's an accident scene. N1 southbound before the R21 Flying Saucer interchange. This is causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Garsfontein Road. Lombardy Estate, still in Tshwane. There's slow-moving traffic on Graham Linwood Road, approaching Solomon Mahlangu, while in Sandton, heading towards Midrand, traffic sluggish. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands all the way to the Butlu interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Ever since fuel went up, you've had to endure a lot. Like helping your mom run errands while she tries to help you with your love life.
Hi, Bo. Kanti, when are you and Sfiso getting married? Pella, I want grandchildren.
Don't let the fuel hike put you under pressure. Get 5,000 Rand towards your fuel when you buy a Haval or P-Series this month. Visit gwm.co.za or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, still to come on the show shortly. In fact, what is a water demand management levy? As we talk about the larger financial problems of the city of Johannesburg. Very interesting story on the Money website about this new charge that is going to be applied to all our households. Those of us, of course, who live in Joburg, each month from the 1st of July. Hilton Tarrant from MoneyWeb is our guest, hopefully who can understand all of this, explain all of this and help us understand. Tholakele, we were just talking about things that we have above our desk. Angela says, I don't even have a desk. I'm using an empty crate of beer bottles. I assume the bottles are not there. The crate's an empty beer bottle crate. I get it. Angela, thank you for sharing that detail. Tholakele, I mean, do you put anything up above your desk for inspiration, clarification, anything like that?
At the moment, we currently have a deck of affirmation cards that we pass around each other, and then we have to put it up once a day. We change the cards. I do have for a lack of a better word, a drawn picture from Sfiso Zulu. It's just a stick man with like a lot of hair, because the last time I went on leave, he was so annoyed by the fact he couldn't see me every day. So he drew that picture and used to put it at my desk, and then he'd send me videos of him talking to that picture. and then the last few things are just like random name tags from like events that I go to.
Oh, nice, yes.
So I just keep those when I'm just like, oh, I did that and I did that. So it's just like nice reminders of when I'm outside in the streets.
And where you might go next.
Yes, I like that. Where I
Yes.
might go next.
Yeah, brilliant. I used to, when I was battling in the early years, when I was trying to get the sports NGO that I've started called Dreamfields going, And my wife gave me a very wonderful quote from the German writer Goethe. And I thought, I really need to follow this, because she was saying to me, people may not think they don't realize that you believe in your own project. So I'll read it quickly because it's not very long. It says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. And then there's other details in the quote. It's beautiful writing, and he concludes by saying, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And I had this literally everywhere I sat. I even thought of putting it on the car windshield, but for obvious reasons, that was not going to be a good idea. But anyway, I had that on my desk for many years until its power and effectiveness had become obvious for me. But yeah, on your desk, what do you have? It's 8 minutes now to 4.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's focus our attention now on this story in MoneyWeb. Obviously, the finances in the city of Joburg and the relationship of those finances to the services we pay for and or don't receive. Interesting pieces are said on the Money website. Hilton Tarrant is the author, and their headline on it says, opaque fixed water demand management levy, those words in quotes, to increase significantly in July. The number being talked about is a 66% increase. Hilton Tarrant, welcome. Thanks for joining us and for your article. What is this water demand levy, demand management levy? Who pays it, and why are you highlighting it in the way you do?
Afternoon, John. So, the water demand management levy was actually implemented by the city a decade ago, rather quietly. At no point did it actually explain what this was for. And it started quite innocuously. So every household, regardless of whether you have a prepaid water meter or a postpaid water meter, you pay this levy, and every commercial or industrial user who has a meter also pays a levy. And those levies back then were 20 Rand for households and 150 Rand for commercial and industrial users.
Right.
And, it seems quite innocuous. I mean, you won't really notice that on your bill statement from the city. What it says this levy is for is a fixed charge for each water connection to cover the network costs and cost of the base water installation over the lifespan of the meter, irrespective of the consumption. So that's a bit of a word salad. But effectively, Joburg Water and the city trying to recoup the cost of actually installing that meter over a period of time. Now, what's really interesting is that this has kind of, chugged along and increased, in line with tariffs over the last decade. But then for households, last year, suddenly this levy jumped by 78%, from 36 Rand a month to 65 Rand a month. And the city is now proposing a further 66% increase. So that levy for household is going to go from 65 Rand and 8 cents a month to 107 Rand 74. Those are all excluding VAT. So that's the amount that the city will, slap on your bill statement from the 1st of July.
Water policy in the city, as I understand it, is meant to take some cognizance of people's financial state. Now, I would have thought there's not a one-to-one relationship, but there would be some tie between how much water I use and, how many appliances I have, how big the household is, and so on. Is this water demand management levy going to be the same for everybody across the board?
It's exactly the same for every household. And then how that consumption is billed is really based on the amount of kiloliters that household or that business uses. So if I live in Bryanston and I've got a sprawling property, I'm using lots of water, I'm going to pay significantly more for water than, someone living in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yes.
And that's how the city then bills the actual consumption of water.
But the levy will be the same for all of us.
The levy is the same.
I want to go back to something you shared with us, Hilton. Read it again and then ask you a question. A fixed charge for each water connection to cover the network costs and cost of the base water installation over the lifespan of the meter, irrespective of the consumption. The way I read that is what appears to be a very direct suggestion that this will fund either the maintenance of infrastructure that's already there or the reinstallation of infrastructure that's there and decaying. And the question I want to ask you is this. We've seen no indication, because it's come up in other conversations, that those kinds of payments go directly back into money made available for infrastructure. Can we make the same assumption here? Yes, they seem to suggest, well, this is your contribution, pay it forward and your water infrastructure won't break down. But there's no guarantee, I would think.
Certainly not. I mean, these funds are not ring-fenced. So very simply, I mean, this is yet another tariff, and City Power has done a similar thing on the electricity supply side,
yes,
where there are very high fixed costs that residents have to pay if they're on postpaid. On prepaid, it's a little bit less. But, this is just another tariff to help try and balance the books. Joburg Water has projected revenue of around 21 billion rand, but it has operating expenditure of over 20 billion rand.
Right.
But it also has to fund a capital budget of 3 billion rand next year. So, something's got to give. And, this type of tariff or this type of levy is just another tool that the city is using, and metros across the country are using, and municipalities across the country are using to try and shore up their revenue base, because quite simply, the city's losing too much water. It's also not able to bill for water consumption effectively. I mean, almost half the water that it supplies is what it calls non-revenue water. So it does not get any money for that water. It has to recover that through tariffs. And, we can't really afford or stomach a 20% increase in tariffs. So why not just slip a levy like this in to help shore up that revenue?
Yeah, and of course, a huge contribution to that non-revenue water is the water that leaks out of the pipes at such a rapid rate and enormous volume. So here we've got a tariff that is meant to fix those pipes, but is actually being used to cover the gaps being left because the pipes aren't being fixed. You go figure. Thank you. Hilton Tarrant is a senior financial journalist at MoneyWeb. Check out the story. There's detail there that we didn't manage to cover, but it's an interesting and important guide to what's coming up to a bill near you on the 1st of July, 2 minutes to 4.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Get ready to enjoy double the music, double the fun, and double the festival at the Magical Marble Family Fest this 9 and 10 May at James and Ethel Gray Park, with 2 stages stacked with the country's best performers like Mikasa, DJ Zinhle, Good Luck, and so much more. Are you ready to experience what the creators of the luxurious marble circus have created as they bring you magic, music, and fun for everyone? Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
Running a small business means every rand counts. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month for my buckies and tools of trade. Now, I get to save some extra cash for my business and focus on giving my clients world-class service.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your buckies and tools of trade. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
It's that time of the year. Sore throats, congestion, wet and dry coughs, pain and fever. For trusted relief for you and your family, ask your pharmacist to recommend a winter survival pack from the Adcock Ingram OTC range. With products like Medikil A, Expigen, Corenza Para-C, Adco Napamol, Dilinct Junior and more, we have you covered this winter. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave.
This is EWN.
Matlala's legal team wants outstanding evidence ahead of his trial, and inclement weather leaves a trail of destruction in parts of the country. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. Lawyers for alleged crime boss Vusumuzikat Matlala have told the court they intend to bring an application against the state over outstanding evidence needed in preparation for trial. Matlala and his 4 co-accused returned to the Johannesburg High Court today, facing attempted murder charges. The court is still dealing with details on pre-trial, including the disclosure of statements and vehicle tracking data. Today, the state was given until next week to make all disclosures. That cat in the matter has been postponed to next month for arguments from Matlala's lawyers on any outstanding evidence. Matlala's lawyer, Advocate Annelien van der Heever.
The 4th, that is past on Monday, we again got disclosure, and as your Lordship would have heard this morning, there's still issues that's outstanding. So we were not intending to bring a piecemeal application in this regard, but I can tell your Lordship, based on some of the answers that we so far have received, we intend to launch an application to compel this.
The Madlanga Commission has heard that the Hawks office in Port Shepstone was not in a suitable condition to store large quantities of confiscated drugs. 541 kilograms of cocaine were kept there for 5 months in 2021, despite concerns about the state of the facility. The cocaine was later stolen in November that year after thieves broke into the premises and took only the drugs. Retired Hawks officer Jacobus Prinsloo, who was the officer's commander at the time, has been testifying before the Madlanga Commission today. Alfara Mushwana reports.
On the 22nd of June 2021, Lieutenant Colonel Jacobus Prinsloo says he received a call from the then Hawks head of the Serious Organized Crime Investigations Unit, Brigadier MC Zinyuswa, instructing him to free up space in the storage area for 541 kilograms of confiscated drugs. Prinsloo has told the Commission that he was aware that the storage facility was already at capacity and not functioning properly. He further says he knew that the drugs would have been better stored at a nearby police station, as per the norm, rather than at a Hawks office that has no security surveillance at all.
The DPCI office was particularly vulnerable and was not suitable to store exhibits, let alone of the quantity we were asked to store. Both Brigadier Newswa and General Sanona knew this.
Just 5 months after he agreed for the drugs to be kept at the Hawks office, there was a break-in and the drugs were stolen. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Cabinet has commended South Africa's high level of expertise in diagnosing 2 cases of hantavirus. Minister in the Presidency, Kumbutso Ntshabeni, says the cases were diagnosed within 24 hours of the patient's admission this week. Ntshabeni was briefing the media in Parliament earlier following a cabinet meeting yesterday. Hantavirus is naturally found primarily in rodents and can cause illness in humans when they are exposed to it. She says Cabinet was also briefed about the circumstances that led to the hantavirus patients being admitted in South African hospitals from an international cruise ship. 3 people from that cruise ship have died from the virus.
Cabinet further congratulated the Department of Health for the speed and effectiveness in which they conducted contact tracing for people who came into contact with the hantavirus patients before the diagnosis was made. Cabinet wishes to allay any fear of another outbreak due to the prevalence of rats in some municipalities.
Residents across the Garden Route are being urged to remain cautious with rivers still flooding and numerous dams spilling over. According to the Garden Route Multi-Agency Command Centre, about 450 people are being sheltered at temporary facilities across the districts. Sites have also been activated in Bitu, Knysna and Oudtshoorn. The Meringspoort River has burst its banks, affecting several communities around it. Carlo Peterson has more.
The route between Oudtshoorn and Gouritz via Calitzdorp Hot Springs has been severely affected, leaving multiple farms cut off and many residents impacted. Several areas remain completely inaccessible, including parts of Oudtshoorn, Kannaland, George and Bateau, due to flooding and infrastructure damage. Acting Western Cape Premier Ivan Meyer says relief efforts are underway.
All the relevant authorities are working closely together to manage this disaster and to save lives and properties.
Authorities are trying to reach a school group of 64 people at the Kango Mountain Resort, but the area remains inaccessible. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And in Indonesia, flood victims have filed a lawsuit demanding government declares a national disaster to speed up reconstruction. It follows deadly floods and landslides which struck Sumatra Island last year, killing 1,200 people. AFP is reporting that the government pointed to the role forest loss played in the disaster and moved to revoke the permits of more than 24 companies alleged to have committed violations. The 7 residents behind the lawsuit are also seeking an environmental audit of mining and plantation concessions and of companies found to have violated those regulations. Gold is trading at $4,742.89 an ounce. The rand is at 16.32 to the dollar, 22.19 to the pound, 19.18 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $99.48 a barrel.
Erasmus Park, we're still dealing with that accident scene in N1 South. This is before the R21 flying saucer interchange, causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Garsfontein Road in Kempton Park. There's also slow-moving traffic on Zierfontein Road between Modderfontein Road and Ellendale.
In your sport, Miguel Cardoso concedes that the Betway Premiership title race is out of Mamelodi Sundowns' control. Khalil Ben Youssef believes that Kaizer Chiefs' performance against the Brazilians is proof that they can compete with the league's best next season. And the Royal and Ancient Golf Club names first female captain in 272 years. A cold and windy Friday with wet weather conditions expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 4 degrees, peaking at 16. Pretoria 5 and 17 and Vereeniging 3 and 15 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Lawyers for alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala have told the court they intend to bring an application against the state over outstanding evidence needed in preparation for trial.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 4. Good to have you with us on the show. We are live in the place where you live and we'd love to hear from you. We've got all sorts of interesting stories for you. Where there's breaking news, we'll do our best to bring it to you. But let me remind you, if there's something you know about, something you've seen, something you've heard about, please do give us a call. I mentioned we're live in the place where you live. You can also watch us, by the way. We are on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, just type in 702 Drive, my name, and the words live. The live is important. That'll get you into the studio with us. We love the fact that you can see us. We kind of always imagine that we can sort of see you as well, because we have a real sense of your presence as we deliver the show. But yeah, we're there, and we love you to join us on YouTube or indeed on any platform where you pick 702 up. Download, by the way, the Prime Media Plus app. That's another really useful way of connecting with us literally anywhere in the world, as long as you can get yourself a Wi-Fi signal. Coming up on the show over the next 30-40 minutes or so, A really quite alarming story about the SA Army Foundation. It is a structure, a non-profit that's been set up to take care of soldiers and their family members. It deals with insurance, it deals with other important support services as well as financial products. Well, two of the people running it have been fined 44 million rand by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. What are the implications for the troops who have to deal with enough as it is? We'll talk to Advocate Pikkie Greef from the South African National Defence Union. That's coming up shortly. New political formation has been created. More details on what is called the African Democratic Alliance for Freedom and Progress when we talk to its first president, Mmusi Maimane. That's coming up a little bit later on the show. Much later, well, not so much later, around 10 to 5 in this time of rising petrol and diesel prices. I wonder if some of you have thought, maybe I should buy some now, in fact, buy quite a bit now, and store it at home. Well, not so fast. There are some real potential hazards of doing that. We'll look at those in our weekly feature, Your House, Your Home. That's coming up at 10 to 5. We asked you earlier what you keep on your desk. Is there anything there that's particularly special? Lindy says, last year for my husband's birthday, we bought him a novelty revolving year in, year out calendar for his desk. The whole point was to remind him of holidays and to spend more time with his family. Still on his desk, and it's had bare impact. P.S. It's his birthday today. Lindy's husband. If you recognize the description of yourself, your desk, and the calendar, happy birthday to you. It's 12 past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. You know, this issue of drugs, and to know that the very same people that we rely on, like police in this case, are the ones that are involved in the drug distribution in this country. It's so sad. You'll only understand if your family has been affected by drugs. I've got two brothers who are on drugs, deep in drugs. They've been for years. My mom got sick because of it. Like, the family is torn apart. Like, you live, like, I wish they knew the pain that they contributed towards, but not that maybe, I don't know, each and every person has got a free will. Guess they also chose to be on drugs, but
the pain they cause, I mean, I think that phrase really does sum it up. And, you know, yes, there is free will, but the fact of the matter is people who sell drugs and enable the people who want to sell drugs are literally ripping the guts out of communities and ripping, as that caller put it, ripping families apart. And she said, I wish they realize what they're doing. And I think the alarming thing is they do. And they do it anyway. It's 13 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
So out in Erasmus Park, we've got some Erasmus Park, maybe. We've got some problems, however you pronounce it. It's getting busy, yeah?
Yeah, that accident scene in Erasmus Park, John, N1 southbound before the R21 flying saucer interchange, still causing about a 20-minute delay from Garsfontein Road in Kloorkop heading into Tembisa. There's an accident scene that's opposite the Mamelodi Sundowns headquarters. This is on Ellendale Road near Zierfontein Road, causing more than an hour delay. This is all the way from Kainok Road. As a result, also traffic backed up on Zierfontein Road between Bergrivier and Ellendale. So avoid that route at this stage if you're heading into Tembisa. Sandton, traffic remains sluggish. That's heading towards Midrand. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Butler interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Is the Portfolio Committee on Social Development letting its beleaguered minister off the hook? Why did she not declare the luxury vehicles? Did she lie to Parliament? Did she hire a food aide who was then deployed to her private residence and even forced to hand over almost half of her salary. Sisisi Tolashe came to Parliament ostensibly to face the music about several scandals that have dogged her department. Bridget Masango, last week you said the minister would face the music, but it seemed to me you let her off the hook quite easily, in fact.
No, I did not let her off the hook.
Why is the minister telling you what you can and cannot do? Who can and cannot ask her these questions?
She can do that because she also doesn't want to preempt the processes that are not complete.
Simple question. Did the minister lie to Parliament, in your view?
I believe she did.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something special. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the city of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Changan Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 13 million drivers worldwide. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more. The Changan Uni S.
Changan, driven to evolve.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to attend the magical Marble Family Fest. Jack went down riding rides in his crown and Jill went sneaker decorating after. They enjoyed pyrotechnics on 2 grand stages, walked whimsical paths, tumbling over after so many laughs. As for their parents, they had a good time too, sipping and eating, even got matching temporary tattoos. So get your tickets for a magical Marble Family Fest day and join Jack and Jill on 9 and 10 May. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is clearly frustrated with the city with how it's managing its money. Is he right to be so angry?
Quite what's behind that, I think it would be very useful to try and understand. You know, I work in the area of water, and we've been trying to understand in the water sector why it's been so difficult for Joburg Water to do things like pay the contractors who've been building that Brixton Tower.
Professor Mike Muller is a visiting professor in the School of Governance at Wits University.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the AgriTrends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. Get the latest AgriTrends report at absaagritrends.co.za. Absa is a registered FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
We were speaking a little bit earlier about the water problems in Johannesburg, and one listener says, as you speak about water issues, there are thousands of litres of clean water pouring down Bath Avenue in Bryanston since early this morning. Nobody on site. 19 minutes past 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
We have on a number of occasions spoken about the way in which South Africa's soldiers, men and women, are treated, the fact that on certain missions they've had to pay for their own tents, buy their own boots and so on. Now, one institution that's meant to make life easier and indeed look after the soldiers that we have as part of the SANDF, it's called the SA Army Foundation. Now, a story a little while back, I think it was Erica Gibson, in City Press reported on allegations that up to 50 million rand in monthly contributions to the foundation had been embezzled. Today's news, News 24, Jan Krunier reporting the managing director and the senior accountant at what should be a non-profit have each been fined more than 20 million rand after an investigation by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. The authority found that Maria Rosa Barros and Angel Errol Rampele have both been found to have paid themselves unauthorized payments, which sounds to me like a polite way of putting something we might phrase differently. But let's find out what the implications of this are. Pikkie Greef is the National Secretary of the South African National Defence Union and joins us now on 702 Drive. Mr. Greef, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. The SA Army Foundation, how crucial is it to the well-being of soldiers, Navy personnel, people in the Air Force, and the many people who are members of your union? Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, John, and to the listeners as well. I don't think it's a question of being crucial, but it is a discretionary deduction against members' salaries. So they join up, voluntarily, hoping that the benefits that is supposed to come from such an organization would be flowing to them. Certainly not expecting that their money would be spent on any other activities than in the interest of the members themselves. So we have a number of, they have a number of activities in the Army Foundation. For instance, holiday resorts where members of the SNDF can go and stay at very, very much discounted prices. There's some housing available, also at discounted prices and so on. So there's quite a few benefits available, short-term loans and that kind of thing that's provided by the foundation. And so, that's it's an institution that's been around for 70 years, and it's supposed to be in the interest of the members.
Yeah, it can't be great for an institution where morale is already low to find yet another scandal involving an institution that they had decided they trusted. Who's supposed to be looking over the work that they do? It's clear that Ms. Barros and Mr. Rampele occupied crucial positions, but who would have been responsible for making sure that they stayed on the straight and narrow, which clearly they didn't?
You see, the funds or institutions like the Army Foundation are regulated by a chapter in the General Regulations to the Defence Act. And the specific chapter is Chapter 9. And Chapter 9 basically determines that such an institutional fund should have a management board of sorts. It should have annual general meetings where members can attend. It should have audited financial statements that's presented at these meetings. And in the end, the custodian of that fund, in this case, is the Chief of the Army. And of course, then indirectly the Chief of the SNDF, and by implication the Department of Defence, because it's its regulations. So if those entities on top is not checking whether funds comply with these regulations, which is law, then obviously, in the end, the buck should stop with the Department of Defense. They should take full accountability. And it's unfortunate that since this news is broken, there has been nothing, as far as we know, from the department side to say what steps they're going to take. Because remember that this fund is funded voluntarily, yes, but it comes directly from the payroll of soldiers. And so the next pay run is already programmed, and it means there's a next deduction coming. And we know that there is possibly some untoward actions going on in the Army Foundation. We would want to safeguard our members' money, and that's exactly why our lawyers is writing this afternoon. We'll send a letter to the department where we insist that the future of this or the money be safeguarded that's going to be deducted, and we find a way of making sure that that money doesn't also go wasted.
And a fine to the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. I don't know how that system works, and I'm wondering if you do. But if they were to pay their fines, I mean, they're huge, and I'm pretty sure that you never get quite as much money as you thought you would get back. But presumably they'll get something back. Will that go automatically back into the Army Foundation coffers? Do you happen to know?
I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that the amount, and that's from an interview that I heard with a spokesperson of the Financial Services Conduct Regulator, that basically stated that the fine amount is more or less equal to the irregularity amount, if I can call it that was determined. How that money is recovered, that's something that we also want to try and find out, and how, and to what extent it's recoverable.
Yes,
that's an open question. And I think also more importantly is why would the department allow these deductions to continue unless and until they've placed safeguards around this fund and the management of the fund?
Thank you so much, Advocate Pikkie Greef, National Secretary of the South African National Defence Union. I'm keen to know, by the way, if there are any SANDF members listening or family members, because often family members are aware of benefits or get involved in those benefits in some way, shape or form. Have you been aware of what's going on at the SA Army Foundation? I mean, the amount, clearly if they've been fined and they've been debarred, by the way, from working in the financial services sector for the next 30 years, but if the fines are each over 20 million rand, I think it's a total of 44 million between Maria Barros and Angel Errol Rampele. Yeah, the amount of money that they must have been involved in taking out of this fund, I would have thought would be huge as well. We'll try and find out more details about what happens to the recovered money. 25 minutes now past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good day, John. This is Steve. Regarding the demand levy from the city of Joburg, my statement already reflects the demand levy and has been so for the past couple of months. So not much we can do about that except pay the bill, I suppose.
Hi, John. What I had above my desk was a scripture from Ephesians that reads, "To him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can think or imagine." This scripture really helped me through some tough times. And also, I believed helped me when I was one of the very, very few people in my organization that got a 3-grade increase. I was a grade 8, then I got promoted to a grade 11, which was quite senior in organization. This happened when I was quite young as well, So it's always been a reminder to me that things that you believe are not possible with man, God can absolutely do, and those things are all possible. So that's what I have. Thanks, great show.
Thanks for sharing those. Now, I just want to share with you, because we've been talking about the city of Joburg's finances. We've been talking about water issues in the Joburg Metro. This is a piece by Anna Cox running on the Daily Maverick website, and I think it's quite alarming in all sorts of ways. In Midrand, a near-complete Johannesburg water project has been brought to a halt after running out of money. It is called the Erand Tower project. People in Midrand scarcely need reminding of the awful months they've been through. Protests regularly after days-long outages, low pressure, and so on. The Erand reservoirs are storage reservoirs. The Erand Tower project would house the pumps that would move that water into the reservoirs. Now the whole thing is stopped, and according to the story, at least by Anna, it was almost finished. Less than 10% of the total contract value remained to be completed. The amount of money outstanding is around 16 million rand. Well, we drop numbers like that all the time on all sorts of wasteful and fruitless expenditure. However, that money is not available. That means they can't carry on and finish the work that has been started, as if we needed it. Yet another indication of the deep, deep problems facing the city of Johannesburg. 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon. Kind of a special day yesterday, slightly different today, although from what I can see, the rand doing rather well.
Indeed, John. Yes, good afternoon to you. So oil prices dipping well below $100 a barrel now, continuing the momentum they started yesterday. We are seeing that the JSE not quite as exuberant as it was yesterday. A lot of corporate news, though. So the JSE all share down 0.25%, 118,881. Financials down 0.38, industrials down 1%, resources up 0.7%. Now, talk about lots of corporate news. Life Healthcare down nearly 11% on the day. They said that their normalized earnings per share, they are expected to rise by between 6 and 10%. But one of their medical aid schemes that it used to take patients from, Sizwe Hosmed, that was placed under curatorship. So it did lose those people who would normally go into Life Healthcare and have their treatment paid by that firm. They also say that paid patient days were down by 0.4%. They've also been hit by its sale of Life Molecular Imaging. It sold that in the last period, and that's had a bit of an impact on the bottom line. But still, I thought to drop 11%, that is quite a tough knock for them. Sasol down nearly 8%. You would expect that with lower oil prices. MTN down 3.4% and Vodacom down 3% today. We Buy Cars down 2.5%. Mondli is down 2.55%. But then we saw also an update from SAPI. They had reported a loss of around 450 million rand for the 6 months to the end of March. Revenue was down 3%. There was a weaker dollar, and so that has an impact on them. They do believe their prices will rise in the next 2 months. Logistics prices obviously jumping because of blockades around the Strait of Hormuz. And then Southern Sun just suddenly there put out an update saying they had an overall occupancy of 62.9% during their financial year. That's compared to 60.8% last year. Their domestic hotel performance also had higher occupancy levels at 64.3%. Now that's pushed them up strongly. They're up nearly 5% on the day. Datatech is up 4.57%. Harmony Gold Mines up 3.62% on the day as well. And we can see that many of the gold and platinum shares are up. Truworths is up 1.93%. And then Dischem is up 2.11 as well on the day. And Goldfield saying it'll increase its gold production by 15% year on year. Obviously, higher gold prices a major factor in their results as well. In the US, still a little bit of a mixed picture. And I think, people sort of not really sure what's going to happen in the Middle East. Is anyone? The Dow Jones down 0.06. The Nasdaq is up 0.3. The S&P 500 is up 0.02% on the day so far. And then looking at the gold price right now, $4,750.13. So that's stronger today. John Platinum a little bit stronger, $2,069.80. And Brent crude, $96.81. The rand to the dollar, 16.31. To the euro, 19.20. To the British pound, 22.22. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news. And Mbali Dlamini has an update for us. It's 28 minutes to 5. Mbali.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. A retired officer says there were numerous red flags in the way authorities handled the drugs stolen from a Hawks office in Port Shepstone. Jacobus Prinsloo is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today about the 2021 theft of 541 kilograms of cocaine. The drugs were discovered inside a shipping container at the Durban harbour and then transferred to the Port Shepstone office where Prinsloo was serving as unit commander. Prinsloo has told the Commission that the first red flag was that the cocaine was not sealed in exhibit bags when it was brought to his office for storage.
These arrived by me just back in those same bags it was seized in. It was completely wrong. There was a lot of red flags, and the general and the brigadier was happy with it.
So as long as your general and brigadier were happy, you were also comfortable?
I was not comfortable. But I cannot point that out to them.
The Johannesburg Crisis Alliance is calling on national government to help rescue the metro's failing state of financial affairs. This follows Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's letter to Joburg Mayor Dada Marero, raising issues including poor revenue collection, over-expenditure and failure to pay creditors. The letter also threatens to cut down on grant funding for the city. Joburg Crisis Alliance spokesperson Nokuthula Kwela.
Withholding the city's equitable share would be catastrophic for residents, and we are calling for immediate national intervention to stabilize Joburg's finances and hold failing leadership accountable.
She adds that the city must implement National Treasury's remedial directives urgently.
The Finance Minister's warning of Section 2162 action confirms what the Joburg Crisis Alliance has been flagging for months. The city is in a state of financial collapse. This isn't just a budget issue, it's a service delivery crisis.
The Western Cape Education Department says all schools affected by closures will reopen tomorrow. An initial 125 schools were shut down due to inclement weather, with a further 3 schools closed due to flooding. The department's Alan Meyer says assessments are ongoing to determine which schools are not yet ready to open. He adds that schools in the Eden district will reopen to provide meals, with learners encouraged to attend any accessible school for food.
Learners in those areas have not been fed for 2 days as well. And so it becomes a very important part for us to be able to feed learners tomorrow at school, because then it's the weekend again. So if we do not feed tomorrow, it will mean learners would go for 5 days with very minimal feeding within their communities.
And the Emirates Group has announced a 3.0% rise in annual profits to $5.7 billion despite severe disruption from the Middle East war. Some of the group's flights were forcefully grounded as fighting continued. Flights to and from Dubai's main airport, the world's busiest international hub, have been limited since Iran's retaliatory action in response to an attack by the US and Iraq in February. The war has posed the biggest challenge for Emirates since the COVID-19 pandemic, when it grounded its fleet and posted a $5.5 billion loss in 2020 and 2021. A cold and windy Friday with wet weather conditions expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 3 and 5 degrees and highs of between 14 and 17.
Kloorkoop heading into Tembisa, accident scene opposite Mamelodi Sundowns headquarters. That's on Allendale Road near Zierfontein Road, causing about a 30-minute delay all the way from Kynoch. Sandton heading towards Midrand, traffic sluggish. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Bethlehem change, and in Ridgevlei, Pretoria, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Ridgevlei Dam Road between the R50 Dalmas Drive all the way to the R21.
The top story in EWN, a retired officer says there were numerous red flags in the way authorities handled drugs stolen from a Hawks office in Port Shepstone in 2021.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection, because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Get ready to enjoy double the music, double the fun, and double the festival at the Magical Marble Family Fest this 9 and 10 May at James and Ethel Gray Park, with 2 stages stacked with the country's best performers like Mikasa, DJ Zintle, Good Luck, and so much more. Are you ready to experience what the creators of the luxurious marble circus have created, as they bring you magic, music, and fun for everyone? Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com, another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
If you're a fan of the beautiful game, you'll recognize this and this. But what about this? It's your chance to score big time. Win your share of up to 2 million rand with Standard Bank. It's game day every day. To enter, open and use any qualifying Standard Bank account, in-app or in branch. Already a Standard Bank customer? Sign up for Standard Bank Connect online to get a bonus entry. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. 702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, Don Nika from Johannesburg. Yeah, listen to your talk about Johannesburg. But I can tell you, I don't have the research on this, but my impression over time is that every time there's an election, just before an election that the ANC people think that they're going to lose, stealing reaches absolute new incredible heights. And I think that's what's been happening in Joburg, and now they make these promises. I'm telling you, nothing is going to come of that. And after the election, it will come out that they've stolen like never before. And it doesn't happen in Johannesburg alone. It happens in all the metros in each and every municipality in South Africa.
Hi, good afternoon, John. John, this is Teoho from Katlehong. John, we're having a very serious problem here in Ekurhuleni. Ekurhuleni currently, when you report a leaking meter, what you actually get, it's a notification, then they send their contracts. They don't replace those meters. They just take them along. It happened right in my yard, whereby when I asked them, they said, unfortunately, There's no money to buy any other meters. So we're heading for a disaster. Tebogo from Katlehong.
Thanks for that. Yeah. I mean, the meters being taken away. Anyone else with those kinds of experiences? Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. It's 20 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Lots and lots of chat still after the Sundowns Chiefs draw last night, with Orlando Pirates and their fans looking on with great anticipation and anxiety, I would think, although the result is a good one for the Buccaneers. Tola Kele, very good afternoon to all the both coaches have had quite a bit to say since last night.
Absolutely, John. And Miguel Cardoso says Mamelodi Sundowns will have to wait and see when it comes to the Betway Premiership title race, having dropped points last night. They drew 1-1 with Kaizer Chiefs to open up a 3-point gap at the top over Orlando Pirates, who have a game in hand. That result means that it's the Buccaneers who have the advantage in the race to win the league, because if they win their remaining 3 games, they'll clinch the championship for the first time in 14 years.
Our obligation is to make the 6 points we have ahead of us and then wait to see what is the outcome of that. Recover the players, because in 2 days we're going to play again and make the result against ULL. And remember that this team from Kaizer Chiefs lost 2-0 with ULL. That means that we need to approach this match with a high sense of responsibility, because it will not be easy as you may imagine, especially also in the sequence we are, where we lost several players from injuries.
Khalil Ben Youssef believes that Chiefs' performances against Pirates and Sundowns is proof that they can challenge for honours next season. Of the 4 games against the top 2, the Glamour Boys drew 3 and lost 1, as they showed improvement from their last campaign. They now look on course to finish in the top 3 and qualify for next season's CAF Confed Cup.
We have to think only about ourselves. We think only about our performance, because I'm sure that if the team perform very well, no one can stop us in the league. The process is there, the performance is there. I think a big difference between this season and the last few seasons. The result is there. I think we are step by step continuing to work. The most important thing now, still we have 3 games. We have to continue to fight in these 3 games to continue to get the maximum of the points.
Vincent Kompany says Bayern Munich are already motivated for next season's UEFA Champions League following their semi-final elimination at the hands of holders PSG. They drew 1-1 in Munich, meaning that the Parisians advanced 6-5 on aggregate to set up a showdown with Arsenal in the final in Budapest on May 31st.
The game was so close, and the game between us and PSG have always been so close. It's been decided by details, moments of quality. Plus, in my opinion, we have a totally different idea on very important decisions that happen in the game. So the whole context of this is difficult to say. That we have to recognize how good this team is, but it's difficult to make a big statement about this is definitely now what we've learned out of this game. Just that it's really tight between both teams.
And the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews have appointed amateur player Claire Dowling as the first woman captain in its 272-year history. The move comes 12 years after they opened their membership to women. Dowling will serve as club captain from September, having represented Great Britain and Ireland in the Curtis Cup on 4 occasions. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
17 minutes to 5. Let's catch up now with what's happening out on the roads. If you're in the Kluwerkop area, you may be experiencing some delays. Those details and everything else you need to know. Here's Karabo Charlie.
Yeah, we have that accident scene opposite Mamelodi Sundowns headquarters. That's in Kluwerkop on Allendale Road near Zierfontein Road, still causing more than a 30-minute delay all the way from Kynoch. Sandton traveling towards Midrand, traffic sluggish M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland to the Bethune change, while in Irene, Pretoria, slow-moving traffic approaching the intersection of Nelmay Pierce Drive and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Just remind you, please, if there's stories that you're picking up in the place where you live, do give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. And reminding you as well, in addition to listening to us, you can also follow us, watch us, call it what you like, on YouTube. Just go type in John Perlman Afternoon Drive 702 Live. That'll get you there. I'm pretty sure of that. It's great to know that some of you are actually following us on that particular platform. One of the things that we often do is just take a look at something called Days of the Year. And every day, there's all sorts of days. Some of them are national holidays. Some of them are world days, like World AIDS Day, which I think you will know about and are well recognized. And then some I suspect are a little bit contrived, but it's used as a way of getting people to talk about a particular subject. I noticed that today's World Password Day, and I thought, I have a lot of passwords, and I'm not always sure how to manage them. When I have to do a new one, I must admit it taxes my brain, possibly more than anything else. So couple of questions on passwords. First of all, how do you keep them? How do you keep them safe? Because that's crucial. How do you remember them? And when you have to come up with a new one, how do you go about it? Obviously, most of you are going to, at the back of your mind, observe just a wee bit of caution, perhaps in explaining how you go about choosing your passwords. But a conversation about passwords with your inputs, please, on 072 702 1702. Tolakele, how many passwords do you think you have? And like me, do you find whenever you, particularly in a rush where they say, oh, choose a password, I go, oh man, do I have to? And eventually I come up with something. But how do you solve that particular stress moment?
Maybe the handful of apps that I'm on almost every day, I personalize the password.
Right.
But for the rest of them, when they give you that special star, hashtag 15171, comma, all of that, I just say save password. That way I know that for your system, it's complex enough for you to be happy. Because nothing irritates me more when I think I've come up with a strong password and then it gives you that error message where it says like your password is not, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Just give me the password and I'll accept it.
Yes. Now, someone says, I use one passport over and over to an extent that my kids are also using the same. That I would assume is a bad idea. Very,
that is
very
a
bad idea.
Yeah.
So, guide us. Karabo Charlie. Passwords, easy-ish to remember. And what happens if you've got to come up with a new one?
I used to struggle a lot because, especially here at work, where we have to change our password every month or so. But then Hohib, Shante, the lady that I sit next to, gave me an idea. Said, find a sentence.
Yes.
And use that sentence and only change one or few things. Like I have a sentence, I am blah, 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 to at blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so the only
yes.
thing I change is the number. So when we have to make new passwords here at work, I just change that number. So I think I'm on 12 now.
Okay.
And then I use that same sentence for all my other apps. But then obviously I change the numbers. The numbers are different. So even if I forget it, I'll always just try different numbers and then I'll eventually get it.
Do you ever give anyone your password?
No way. No, not even my partner.
No, that's what I mean. I don't mean like a random guy in a bar and you say, hey, pal, buy me a beer and I'll give you my part. I don't mean that. But
she's got access to my phone. So
yes.
Then, like, God forbid anything happens to me, at least she can contact the relevant parties. But yeah, otherwise, most of the passwords, I keep it to myself.
World Password Day. Any password tips? Any things that you do, as memory jogs, or that get you out of that situation where, sometimes I find I'm on a website, like I'm trying to book a ticket for something, let's say a sports event or whatever, and I think, oh no, I'm already on the site, then I don't, then you got to come up with a password quite quickly. Those are the fluster moments for me. But you perhaps have a much cooler head. If you do have one, guide me to that Zen space around passwords, please. 072 702 1702. It's 12 minutes to 5.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
I mean, I have to say this thought actually occurred to me, not so much with the fuel price increases, but in the beginning when there was the possibility, I thought, real possibility of fuel shortages, particularly diesel. I thought to myself, well, maybe one should buy some and keep it at home. And I wonder if some of you have thought about that or have actually taken decisions to say, I'm going to buy at this price, I get some big jerry cans and stash stuff at home. Well, this could be a little bit risky. There are all sorts of implications, including ones that might affect future insurance claims. So, in our weekly feature, Your House, Your Home, we thought we would explore this particular issue. And for that, we welcome to 702 Drive, Christelle Coleman, who's Chief Executive Officer at AMI Underwriting Managers. Ms. Coleman, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Do you get a sense that quite a few people are starting to store a bit of fuel at their homes with a view to beating price hikes or anticipating possible shortages? Is this a growing issue?
Hi, John. Oh, thanks for having me on this afternoon. Well, you just have to look at social media to see that people are actually doing it. It's very interesting to see to gauge the mood of the nation through your local social media pages.
Right.
I live in Hermanus, and I just noticed that people are talking about stockpiling fuel, and it made me think about this. These future claims that are going to start coming our way, where it is found that perhaps the regulations were not met. And fires resulted in claims possibly not being paid out. So yeah, it's a serious conversation, and I think worth discussing.
I suppose in some places, particularly where there's shared or collected living of some sort, or perhaps where people are running a small business, with our load shedding legacy, people maybe were storing a lot of fuel for generators anyway. I mean. Was during the load shedding period, for example, were there any patterns in insurance claims?
Not so much, no. I agree with you, but I do think that this time around, especially leading up to the recent diesel price increase, I felt that there was quite a bit of sort of chattering around buying additional fuel, and not just private homes, but if you think about farming activities. Or people who have small holdings, but they stockpile it in their private homes, not possibly thinking about the increased risk in fire as a result of that. So, it's just using common sense. If you want to save some money and you're worried that you won't have enough fuel to keep your small business going,
right,
or put it in your car, just be aware of the fact that there are regulations around storing these containers of fuel, and that you are putting your personal safety at risk if you're not doing it properly. And then, of course, lastly, you could possibly end up with a problem on an insurance claim. But that should be, second after you worry about your own personal safety and that of your family.
Let's talk a little bit about containers. I understand that there is a South African national standard around that. Where does one, first of all, what do you look out for on a container? And secondly, best places to buy them?
Well, the South African national standard says that, these containers must be clearly labeled, must be kept closed, and must be, maintained to prevent leaks and vapor. And I'm 100% sure that if you go online and just search for SANS approved fuel storage containers, that you would find suppliers. I don't actually know what the response is to that question, but the message is, don't use old soft drink bottles and paint buckets, or things that you would normally, that's not a safe place to keep this combustible property in. So rather be safe and make sure that you get the correct container if you are going to do it. And also make sure that you understand the bylaws of the area that you live in, the municipality. Perhaps
yes,
contact the municipality to find out what are the allowed limits of storing fuel on your premises. And John, really, at the end of the day, not all insurance policies are created equal, or it's what makes it so difficult for policyholders to know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Right.
But my message really is to say that ask your insurance company, ask your broker, what is the correct, what can you do in terms of your insurance policy, what is allowed, and that you then comply with that. Get it on record, an email. Don't think it'll just be okay if this is your intention to stockpile fuel. And we don't know what's coming, because
right,
the Middle Eastern crisis doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. So so rather be safe than sorry. That's the message that I have.
What are there any restrictions if I go to a filling station? Can I go and get them to sell me limitless amounts of fuel, or are there restrictions actually? I'm talking about in the retail space.
Well, I did notice it towards the end. What was it? Sometime, about a week or two ago, when we were waiting for this last increase to come through, that some of the petrol stations put their own caps on the amount of fuel sold to individuals. I'm not sure if there is additional limits on that. I'm talking specifically from a perspective of what you store in your own home, in your garage. Make sure that you understand what those limitations are. And if you are going to store a big amount of fuel, make sure that you get it on record and you don't have a problem with a claim if that does arise in your future.
And just finally, I mean, in terms of rules around transporting fuel or potential risks, we don't need to necessarily get into regulations and so on, but I would have thought that's another area of risk potentially.
Oh, absolutely. Transporting. I was actually thinking about that when I was reading these posts of people getting these additional, resources in their garage. Exactly how they were planning on transporting those fuel containers. And again, I don't have an answer to that. I really am just saying that from your personal home perspective. Don't just go and buy and store and think everything is okay. Be aware and understand that there are regulations that you have to comply with, that your insurance policy will expect you to do certain things.
Right.
And don't get caught in a situation where a claim isn't paid and then you're just unhappy with the insurance company at the end of the day.
Thanks so much, Christelle Coleman, Chief Executive Officer at AMI Underwriting Managers. Anyone starting to save fuel for an unaffordable day or a day when there might not be some available close enough to you so that you can actually go and fill up? Give us a call on that. And if you've got some excellent tips to add to what has been shared with us already by Christelle Coleman, well, we'd like to get those as well. 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
In the era that we are living in now, are you seeing more and more people break away from religion in its formal setting?
I think there is to a certain extent, but again, we also have to make that distinction between kind of questioning and rebelling. But all of that is equally sparked by the kind of age that we are in, where there is no longer shame to kind of break away from the traditional thinking or like the cultural grouping or maybe following a particular religion.
PhD candidate in the Department of International Relations, a researcher and academic working on race and racism in the international system, Samukelo Ngovu.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
If your internet provider was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 45-year-old Niven 461 Rand on his 2025 Volkswagen T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Many of us take taking a deep breath for granted. But for some infants with RSV, every breath is a battle. Respiratory syncytial virus is a contagious virus that can lead to serious illnesses, including lung infections. Fortunately, protection for infants against RSV is now available in South Africa. Ask your healthcare provider about keeping your baby protected during their first RSV season.
This little piggy went to market, but those little piggies went to the Magical Marble Family Fest. One little piggy had so much to taste, and another little piggy danced at this magical place. That little piggy had a blast at the Chocolatarium, while Mama Little Piggy sampled drinks at the Skytrium. All while that little piggy frolicked with glee, riding rides and shouting, wee, wee, wee. Join those little piggies on 9 and 10 May and get your tickets for a Magical Marble Family Fest Day, another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Looking for something special to spoil your mom this Sunday? Celebrate Mother's Day with a memorable experience at Southern Sun. Treat mom to a delicious lunch, indulgent afternoon tea, or even an overnight stay at participating hotels this Sunday. Relax, reconnect, and savor every moment while our expert chefs and warm hospitality take care of the rest. Make this Mother's Day one she'll always remember. Book now at southernsun.com.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Still to come on 702 Drive. What next for the city of Johannesburg after a letter from Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to the Executive Mayor Dada Morero laid bare the absolutely alarming state of the city's finances. And crucially, who's responsible for that? Yes, of course, the people running Joburg would have to carry a large part of the can, but there were other entities, other levels of government that have been charged, both legally and more recently, with some kind of oversight responsibility. We'll explore some of those issues and more. That's all coming up after 5 o'clock. But first, the news.
This is EWN.
The World Health Organization stresses don't panic over Hunter virus, and inclement weather leaves a trail of destruction in parts of the country. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The World Health Organization says the Hunter virus remains a limited outbreak and there is no need for public mask mandates yet. The organization held a media briefing today at its Geneva headquarters in Switzerland on the Hunter virus. The WHO says there's only 8 confirmed cases and 3 people have died. The organization says it is working with South African officials and other nations to do contact tracing with anyone who may have come into contact with the infected people. Director of the department's pandemic threat management, Maria van der Koof.
We certainly advise people who are caring for those who are suspected of this Andes virus or hantaviruses to wear a higher level of personal protective equipment. That guidance has been given to the people on board, but also there are the 2 patients that are in hospital in the Netherlands, and there's a patient in ICU in South Africa. And I am very happy to say the patient in South Africa is doing better, and the 2 patients in the Netherlands we hear are stable.
That was the WHO's Maria van Kerkhove. Lawyers for alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Kat Madlanga have told the court they intend to bring an application against the state over outstanding evidence needed in preparation for trial. Madlanga and his 4 co-accused returned to the Johannesburg High Court today, facing attempted murder charges. The court is still dealing with details on pre-trial, including the disclosure of statements and vehicle tracking data. Today, the state was given until next week to make all disclosures, and the matter has been postponed to next month for arguments from Madlanga's lawyers. Madlanga's lawyer, advocate Annelien van der Heever.
The 4th, that is past on Monday, we again got disclosure, and as your Lordship would have heard this morning, there's still issues that's outstanding. So we were not intending to bring a piecemeal application in this regard, but I can tell your Lordship, based on some of the answers that we so far have received, we intend to launch an application to compel this.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that the Hawks office in Port Shepstone was not in a suitable condition to store large quantities of confiscated drugs. 541 kilograms of cocaine were kept there for 5 months in 2021, despite concerns about the state of the facility. The cocaine was later stolen in November that year after thieves broke into the premises and took only the drugs. Retired Hawks officer Jacobus Prinsloo, who was the officer's commander at the time, has been testifying before the Madlanga Commission today. Alpha Ramshwana reports.
On the 22nd of June 2021, Lieutenant Colonel Jacobus Prinsloo says he received a call from the then Hawks head of the Serious Organized Crime Investigations Unit, Brigadier Msizi Nyuswa, instructing him to free up space in the storage area for 541 kilograms of confiscated drugs. Prince Lua has told the commission that he was aware that the storage facility was already at capacity and not functioning properly. He further says he knew that the drugs would have been better stored at a nearby police station as per the norm, rather than at a Hawks office that has no security surveillance at all.
The DPCI office was particularly vulnerable and was not suitable to store exhibits, let alone of the quantity we were asked to store. Both Brigadier Newswa and General Sonona knew this.
Just 5 months after he agreed for the drugs to be kept at the Hawks office, there was a break-in and the drugs were stolen. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And as heavy rains continue to batter parts of the Eastern Cape, some residents in Mission Vale say they feel abandoned and fear conditions could still get worse. The community in Gqeberha has been amongst the hardest hit by days of persistent rainfall, with flood water damaging homes and forcing some families to seek shelter elsewhere. Earlier this week, hundreds of residents gathered at a local school where Gift of the Givers distributed food, blankets and basic supplies. Mongezi Gogo reports.
The Nelson Mandela Bay municipality says more than 2,500 people have been displaced across the metro, with emergency shelters and relief support activated. But in Mission Vale, some residents say the help has been too slow, with many now desperate as their homes remain waterlogged. A local resident whose home has been submerged says communities feel left in the lurch.
I'm very sorry to say to you, our government is very slow to answer our responsibility.
The South African Weather Service has warned that the risk of flooding remains high in parts of the province, while disaster management teams continue to monitor conditions. Mongezi Gogo, Eyewitness News, Gqeberha.
Gold is trading at $4,737.54 an ounce. The rand is at 16.27 to the dollar, 22.14 to the pound, 19.18 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $99.51 a barrel.
In Ekurhuleni, traffic heavily backed up in the Benoni-Boksburg area. That's on Atlas Road approaching the N12. Edenville expects some delays. R24 westbound, that's driving into Bedfordview between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. And finally, in the Joburg CBD, there's still bumper-to-bumper traffic. M1 southbound from Killarney Bends to the Crown interchange.
In your sport, Aston Villa the underdogs as they take on Nottingham Forest in the second leg of the Europa League semi-final. Petition calling for Kylian Mbappe to leave Real Madrid tops 30 million signatures. And the IOC lifts Olympic ban on Belarus, but Russia still barred.
A cold and windy Friday with wet weather conditions expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 4 degrees, peaking at 16. Pretoria 5 and 17, and Vereniging 3 and 15 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the World Health Organization says the Hunter virus remains a limited outbreak and there is no need for public mask mandates just yet.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD.
7:02
Walk the Talk. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us on the show. We are live in the place where you live, and we will do our level best to bring you all the breaking news, updates on stories we've already been covering, but please don't forget that you can contribute to that as well. If there's something interesting happening in the place where you live, there may well be issues that we're covering where we might have missed the point or picked up the wrong end of the shtick. You can call us on that as well on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. Coming up over the next half an hour or so, we're going to look at a number of things. Stephen Kruit is in, of course, with the news from the markets. Quite a good day for the rand and a reasonably good day on the fuel price, although it's down from a very high point. Still down is better than up, as I always say, and hopefully it can keep heading in that direction. Stephen with us at about 28 minutes past 4. He'll tell us what he's doing on the money. 28 minutes past 5, I beg your pardon, and he'll be there to tell us as well what he's going to do on the money show tonight. But we want to zone in on what's going on in the city of Johannesburg in regard to finances and who bears responsibility comprehensively for the parlous state we're in. Obviously, the bulk of that, I think, lands with the executives who've been running the city of Johannesburg. But, you know, the province, through two entities, is supposed to keep a close eye on what's going on in Joburg. And there's a national level of responsibility as well, not least because the president last year created a special group responsible for looking at how Joburg was being run. More on that with analyst Kevin Allen, who's founder of an entity called Municipal IQ. I asked you about passwords. This is World Password Day. There may be some site for it, but I don't have the password for that, so you'll know. Seriously, though, it is World Password Day, and I asked you for how you manage. I've got loads of passwords. Some of them are for serious stuff, involving money, and then others are, less important, but somehow they feel they want you to have a password for that as well. So I must admit, I'm still trying to figure out how to manage that, but we will rely on you, hopefully, to give us some valuable tips. Let's see what you've sent us so far.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. For me, I have no guide for you. But in terms of sharing, yes, my password, my kids know them. Anyway, I'm like your colleague at studio. I have a certain password that I adopted if it has to be the characters that I use with certain numbers. But then then it has to be only numbers. I also have a set of numbers that I use, and my kids have that as well. In fact, my younger son uses the same password as me. So, God forbid, should anything happen to me, they know exactly what to do in terms of my bank cards and my phone and everything else. Thank you, Lyndon in Calamari.
Good afternoon, John. This is Selma from Roodepoort. An easy way to have passwords available is to choose a theme. Like, for example, if you have chocolate names like Twix or Kit Kat or something like that, choose a theme. And then from that, you can pick various names each month when you have to change your password. Thanks for a lovely show. Bye.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Passwords are the hardest thing to ever navigate because we've got so many apps, so many things in life. But I just think God blessed me with a great mind. I remember every single password. I know all the ID numbers. I know my wife's ID numbers, my children's ID numbers. I know bank account numbers. I know everything. If you ask me now, I give you church bank account numbers, everything you ask me, I know. Somehow I just have a great retention memory. I think it's a blessing. So I remember every single one of them. And how I choose them, I just combine a couple of things. I'm not going to tell you what things I combine, but I combine a couple of things and create a wonderful password that's difficult to crack. Great show as always. Enjoy yourself. Have a good day. King Peter, Alberton.
Yeah, thanks for those. Keep them coming on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. 13 minutes now past 5 o'clock.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. We had problems in Kleurkop earlier. I don't know if they've got any better. Let's get an update on that situation and the broader traffic picture as well. Here's Karabo Charlie.
Yeah, regarding Kloorkoop, that accident scene opposite Mamelodi Sundowns headquarters, it looks like it has been cleared because traffic is starting to move, looking much better now. There's less than a 5-minute delay as you approach Zierfontein Road. However, still in Ekurhuleni, Benoni Boksburg traffic heavily backed up on Atlas Road approaching the N12. Edenville also expect some delays traveling towards Bedford View R24 westbound from Edenville Road to the Gilulis interchange. Driving through Alex, that's heading towards Germiston. Traffic pressure N3 southbound from the Petlu interchange to Morafontein Road in the Joburg CBD. Heading towards Boysens, bumper-to-bumper traffic M1 south from Killarney Bends to the Crown interchange. Sandton, traveling towards Midrand, traffic remains sluggish. M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland to the Petlu interchange. And in Irene, slow-moving traffic approaching the intersection of Nelmay Pierce Drive and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you escape that awkward elevator ride with your boss, but they can help you get to the office on time. Seeing them on your route just makes you feel better. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
Looking for something special to spoil your mom this Sunday? Celebrate Mother's Day with a memorable experience at Southern Sun. Treat mom to a delicious lunch, indulgent afternoon tea, or even an overnight stay at participating hotels this Sunday. Relax, reconnect, and savor every moment while our expert chefs and warm hospitality take care of the rest. Make this Mother's Day one she'll always remember. Book now at southernsun.com.
This little piggy went to market, but those little piggies went to the magical Marble Family Fest. One little piggy had so much to taste, and another little piggy danced at this magical place. That little piggy had a blast at the Chocolatarium, while Mama Little Piggy sampled drinks at the Skytrium. All while that little piggy frolicked with glee, riding rides and shouting wee wee wee. Join those little piggies on 9 and 10 May and get your tickets for a magical Marble Family Fest Day, another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
Chamberlain is now in the 4th generation and at 10 locations throughout Gauteng. Our differentiator is our long-serving and loyal staff. Available, knowledgeable. Can we help you? Big on stock, strong on service, built on values. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Joburg audiences are loving Pretty Woman the musical. Don't miss the Broadway and West End smash hit, packed with romance, laughter, and the unforgettable music of Bryan Adams. Now on stage at Monte Casino's Teatro for a limited season only until 31 May. Book your seats now at showtime.co.za. Beyond the movie, Pretty Woman, the love story you know, the musical you'll never forget. Brought to you by Showtime Management.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. the heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babise bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the city of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 19 past 5. Don't forget you can watch us on YouTube. Type in 702 Drive, John Perlman live. Yeah, that ought to get you there. We've already got quite a few of you there. Thanks for joining us. Lovely to have you with us on YouTube as well. Right, let's focus our attention now on the city of Johannesburg. Obviously, all of this sparked, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana writing to Joburg Executive Mayor Councillor Dada Morero, raising all sorts of problems with the city. For example, the fact that the city is effectively bankrupt. Creditors are owed 25.2 billion rand. The city has just under 4 billion rand in cash and equivalents. Lots of money lost to unauthorized expenditure, and the deal that has been struck with workers over the next couple of years, according to the finance ministers, at least, is both illegal and entirely unaffordable. So let's get into some of the issues, and crucially, let's look at whether there were points or places where, to some degree, this could have been maybe not stopped but mitigated. Kevin Allen is Managing Director at Municipal IQ, and he joins us now on the show. Mr. Allen, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Were you surprised by anything in the minister's letter to the executive mayor, either the content or the tone?
Well, I'm not surprised at all, I'm afraid, because Joburg has been on a downward trajectory for a number of years now. It's gone through a number of mayors. Anyone who lives in Joburg.
Okay, just some difficulties there, getting a decent line to Kevin Allen. We're going to take a couple of your voice notes. And by the way, while we're doing that, just remind you of what we're going to be doing in the second half of the show. We always, at about 5:45, dedicate our time and your attention and your contributions to music. Today's theme, what is the oldest song on your playlist? Not the oldest artist, but the oldest song. How far back do you go into music history on your playlist? Maybe something like this. Sounds of Earth, Wind and Fire back into, I think, mid-1970s, if I'm not mistaken. Please do send us that. Kevin Allen, I hope we've got it back. We've got you back. You were just saying that there were no real surprises for you because this downward spiral has been in evidence. Perhaps you could pick that up.
Yeah, John, absolutely. Joburg has been in a downward spiral, downward trajectory for a number of years now, certainly for the last 8 to 10 years. It's gone through a number of mayors. It seems to change mayor once a year, which is crazy given the size of this metro and the importance that it has in terms of stability. So no great surprise that our finance minister wrote to the mayor expressing concerns. It is a really significant development, though.
Yes.
It very seldom happens, and it indicates a really growing, very, very significant financial crisis.
So I'm looking at something called the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group and how it's meant to work. This was created, I think it was announced in March last year, and obviously getting busy in the middle of 2025. It has 8 different work streams. They're supposed to, according to their own publication, meet regularly and give regular reports. Working group shall prepare regular progress reports on key activities, achievements, challenges, and recommendations for the President and Ministers. Now, if I look at governance and financial sustainability, there are 5 participants there. Obviously, the city of Joburg. The others I find interesting, though. National Treasury is there, COGTA, the national ministry is there, but also the provincial equivalent or provincial version of COGTA, and then the Gauteng Treasury. How much of the blame sits with these entities? Obviously, COJ bears the bulk of responsibility, but surely we need to ask questions about why we have these forums and structures if they don't ring the bell. I mean, for example, what did that working group say about the wage deal done with the unions?
Yeah, so the wage deal, it's a really important point. The city is effectively, our national finance minister is saying that the city is bankrupt, and it's signed a 10.3 billion rand 2-year wage deal with SAMU. Now, the minister has said, now this is what action he's taking, because he is saying that if they go ahead with that deal, he's going to stop an 8 billion rand equitable share grant. Now, you only do that when you have no other course of action. That means nobody in Joburg is prepared to listen to the minister. And quite frankly, I don't think the mayor of Joburg or Joburg City Council is listening to any forum, including the forums that we're discussing here, the Presidential Working Committee.
Yes.
I'm not sure how effective they are at all, because Joburg's budget as well, the minister has said the proposed budget, the new forthcoming budget, is not realistic, that the revenue is a fantasy, that it's a pipe dream, that they're never going to raise as much revenue as they're proposing, and that the expenditure is way, way higher than a realistic assessment of its revenue. Now, this is the kind of Banana Republic budget that we get from small, poor municipalities that don't have a capacity to propose a balanced budget. And suddenly it's happening in Joburg. It's alarming, quite frankly. And the fact that the minister has chosen to intervene and held, the sword of Damocles over the council and over the mayor, and said to him, if you go ahead with this wage deal, which is effectively going to sink Joburg financially, then I'm not giving you your equitable share of 8 billion rand. It's very, very dramatic in local government terms.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, if we were to get really forensic about this, and I think it would be a good idea if somebody actually did, if, as the document from this Presidential Joburg Working Group says there should be regular progress reports, I would be interested to know if the progress report over the relevant time frame from the Governance and Financial Sustainability Group includes either in its report or in if they keep minutes of proceedings. Somebody said, whoa, what's going on with this wage deal? You do not have the money, because that's what the minister is saying. But it seems to me that message is coming through loud and clear, yes, but extremely late.
Yes, absolutely. And this wage deal, just to be absolutely clear, is political expediency. The ANC in Joburg is saying we're going to appease SAMU workers, this very militant trade union, and we're just going to give them what they've asked for. It's political expedient, but it is a very dangerous thing to do. And doing it is also the fact that the ANC who runs Joburg and this mayor is prepared to do this volumes about how much risk that this current mayor and council and the ANC in Joburg are prepared to take on behalf of the city. And the minister is alarmed by this.
Yes.
And the minister is saying if Joburg is destabilized, it could destabilize the entire economy of Johannesburg, the regional economy.
Right.
And indeed the entire province economically.
Yeah.
So this has dire consequences for our country, and I don't think that's an overstatement.
Kevin Allen, thank you, Managing Director of Municipal IQ. Now, given all the different entities that would have been involved in oversight of Joburg's finances. Let me just update you on our conversations with all of them. We asked Treasury to come on the show and they've declined. We asked the city of Johannesburg to come on and they have declined to be interviewed. We approached the Gauteng COGTA, which is Cooperative Governance and Traditional Authorities, the MEC of that, Jacob Mamabolo, and they say, well, it's premature for them to comment on this. And finally, we approached the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group through the leadership of that particular structure, and they declined to comment on this as well. That will not be sustainable over time. At some point, these questions will need to be answered. So we will be patient and wait and see if we can get them on, not just on this show, but on 702. It's 29 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Crisis, a very good afternoon to you once again. Markets closed, Money Show coming up. You have the floor.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. Well, the JSE ending flat, really. Oil prices are lower, below $100 a barrel. That's very important. Lots of corporate news today. So the JSE All Share ending down 0.01%, 119,154 points. Financials up 0.1%, industrials down 1.1%, resources up 0.96% on the day. Gold and platinum prices are slightly higher. Quite a few really strong updates from some of our tech companies. So Data Tech, they ended the day up 6.14%. Eltron also having a very good result. So people celebrating there. We see some of the miners doing nicely. Pan African up 4.5%, Harmony up 4.25%, Anglo Gold up 3.72%. Also, of course, an update today from Gold Fields. They say they're on track to increase gold production by 15% year on year, although production was down 7% quarter on quarter in the 3 months to the end of March. Higher gold prices, of course, having an impact on them. And Dischem up 1.44% on the day. Southern Sun ending up 3.28%. They've dropped a little bit. They were huge earlier. That's because they announced that their overall occupancy had been 62.9%, mainly driven by South African operations. So a little bit of celebration there. And then SAPI reporting today a loss of around 450 million rand for the 6 months to the end of March. Life Healthcare, taking a lot of damage today, John. Despite not a terrible update. So they were down nearly 11% on the day. They said that their normalized earnings per share were expected to rise by between 6 and 10%. One of the healthcare funders, one of the medical aids that would send their patients to Life Healthcare, Sizwe Hosmed, that was placed under curatorship during the period, so it would sort of effectively lose that business. And paid patient days were down 0.4%. So that having a bit of an impact. Cecil down 2%, as you would expect, with lower oil prices, 6.25%. Mondley down at 2.97%. Santam and 91 both down by around 2.5%. And then communications companies, MTN and Vodacom, down by around 3.5% as well. In the US, sort of record highs for the Nasdaq, the S&P also very strong. I don't know. We'll speak to Graham Kerner about whether or not we should be celebrating or more worried about this. The Dow Jones is down 0.04%. The Nasdaq is up 0.63%. The S&P 500 is up 0.22% on the day. The gold price, $4,757.94. Platinum, $2,075.60. Brent crude, $97.58. The rand to the dollar, 16.32. To the euro, 19.21. To the British pound, 22.23. On the Money Show tonight, John Moody's having a look at what's going to happen to our economy because of the Middle East conflict. We'll talk today also about Eskom. Cabinet saying load reduction will be completely gone by the end of next year. And really, by the end of this year, it'll only be underway in Gauteng and KZN. I mean, that's very optimistic and affects hundreds of thousands of people. We'll talk too around the latest in the chicken fight and imports. We'll talk to the CEO at Lasaka Technologies. They reported back today. And then in Investment School tonight, we'll be looking at private markets versus public markets. Stephen Critis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. The Money Show coming up between 6 and 8 at 27 minutes now to 6 o'clock, the very latest Eyewitness News with Mbali Dlamini, focusing on a new African political alliance. What's that all about? Good afternoon.
Well, John, a very good afternoon. Leader of Build One South Africa, Mmusi Maimane, has been elected as the president of the newly formed Pan-Africanist Coalition, African Democratic Alliance for Freedom and Progress. The alliance brings together 45 different political parties from across 25 African countries. It held a media briefing in Rosebank, Johannesburg today to outline its vision for the continent. Maimane says the alliance was formed to find an alternative way to seek solutions and problems that are confronting Africa.
Our overarching political objective is to say, how do we build intra-trade in Africa? How do we raise leaders who are able to translate aspiration to actual governance so that when we talk about a prosperous Africa of over 1.2 billion people, we don't economically misgovern Africa?
Maimane says while the goal is the same, the alliance is different to organizations like the African Union as well as SADC.
When you look at the African Union, it's become a club of people who protect one another. We have to reform multilateralism for the future. This is going to be a representation of young people, women, and not people only in government. It has to be people in opposition, people in civil society, which institutions like the African Union don't reflect on.
Trade unions COSATU and FEDUSA have reached an agreement with GEMS Medical Aid to reduce its contribution hike for members to 7.5%. It follows an ongoing dispute over a proposed 9.5% increase by GEMS. The unions have slammed the fee hike, saying it is excessive and unaffordable, especially affecting low-income earners. Jabuli Limbata has more.
This morning, COSATU and FEDUSA held a media briefing to give an update on the demand to decrease the proposed contribution hike. Last year, the medical aid scheme had implemented a 13.4% increment, and in January, this was at 9.8%, which is when the unions protested and delivered a memorandum of demands to GEMS demanding an end to this. In February, GEMS proposed a 9.5% contribution increase, which the unions have been pushing back at until now. COSATU's Simon Hlungwane says after a long-awaited battle, they have achieved a slight decrease.
In its letter, GEMS confirms our call for the withdrawal of 9.5% weighted contribution increase and its replacement with a lower rate, together with additional matters raised in labour's demand.
He adds that the scheme is yet to respond to the rest of the demands. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News.
And amid stormy conditions in parts of the Western Cape, the provincial government says its priority is saving lives as well as property. Head of Disaster Management, Colin Diner, says the situation has been classified as acute, with inclement weather still hitting some communities. In Bito, about 230 people are being sheltered in a church and a community hall, while more than 200 have been evacuated to safety in Knysna. Diner says 10 people have also been displaced in Oudtshoorn. He adds that there have been no request to declare a disaster in the affected areas just yet.
What will happen is once we have all the assessments, we will then be able to make a determination. Do we request a disaster declaration, which of course then allows us to access funding to do repair work, or are we able to cover those costs within our own budget?
A cold and windy Friday with wet weather conditions expected in Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 3 and 5 degrees and highs of between 14 and 17.
Well, at this stage in the Benoni-Boksburg area, traffic heavily backed up. This is on Atlas Road approaching the N12. Kleurkop, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay on Allendale Road approaching Zierfontein Road. And in Sandton, traffic remains sluggish. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands to the Batu interchange.
The top story in EWN, leader of Build One South Africa, Mmusi Maimane, has been elected as the president of the newly formed Pan-Africanist Coalition, African Democratic Alliance for Freedom and Progress.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
Aziz Shege, be in the game. Show your love for D-Ski with Hollywood Bets. We're taking the soccer season to new heights. You could win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Hilux double cab or Toyota Starlet Cross. All you have to do is bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture online or at your nearest branch. Bet now and strike for glory.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
You can become a victim of a legal problem. Wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Ntate John. The collapse of municipalities is as a result of Treasury doing nothing about the budgets that are being passed based on unrealistic revenues from rates and taxes and increasing equitable shares, not based on actuals. So it's too little too late. Treasury should have acted long time ago to many municipalities across the country. Bazuka from Pretoria.
Hi, John. I just wanted to weigh in on the conversation around municipal IQ. I think if we were to even take a small budget of the city in relation to legal fees, just look at how, for lack of a better word, willy-nilly money is spent, taxpayers' money, is spent on legal processes involving officials of the municipality, including councillors as well, that actually should not be coming out of taxpayers' portion. But specifically, I think just those legal costs that the city has to pay from taxpayers' money for legal processes that you can investigate them further, but they really are just unnecessary in a lot of the cases. Thank you.
Good afternoon, John and the team. Thank you for giving us an update on the people that you contacted to get their views on the situation of the finances in Johannesburg. But then it's surprising. It's discouraging that even that presidential team that was established by the president when he was shocked when he came to Joburg, that they don't even have answers. So that's very strange. Joburg is in a mess, and it's time that these politicians realize that this city is in real trouble. Thank you, John. Simon Boxbeck.
Yeah, thanks for those contributions on the state of Johannesburg. So much more to talk about. We'll be on this story tomorrow. I'm sure that Aubrey tonight with Stephen, and tomorrow as the day begins with Africa Malani. This is going to be a constant focus of attention. The other big story, of course, tomorrow is the Concord decision in regard to whether Parliament acted incorrectly in preventing further procedures around the Phala matter and the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa. So we'll be watching that with a huge amount of interest here on 702. I'm sure you'll be interested in that as well. 18 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
Big football in Europe tonight, not the Champions League, which we focused on over the last two nights, but the Europa League. Tola Kele with the latest.
Thanks so much, John. And a spot in the final of that competition is up for grabs this evening as Aston Villa host Nottingham Forest in the second leg of their semi-final. The visitors go into the tie with a 1-0 lead, and Nikola Milenkovic says they're desperate to be the first Forest side to reach a European final since 1980.
The best feeling in the football is the fighting for the trophy, but the best feeling is winning the trophy, and tomorrow is a big game for us, and every individual on the pitch must give everything to help Nottingham to reach the final, and for me this would be the greatest reward. You must believe in your abilities.
Villa will give Morgan Gibbs-White until the very last minute to prove his fitness after he suffered a cut to his forehead during the Premier League game against Chelsea on Monday. Ezra Konsa and his teammates are looking for a boost in this clash as they've lost each of their last 3 games in all competitions.
We've got to put it behind us. Good thing about football is games come thick and fast. We've got to forget about the last 3 games and focus on tomorrow. We feel good. Training was good today. We know we're playing at home in front of our fans, and it'll be a special night. So, we're feeling good and ready to go for tomorrow.
An online petition calling for Kylian Mbappe to leave Real Madrid has garnered 30 million signatures amid a turbulent season for Los Blancos. The call comes amid tensions that have arisen following their elimination from the Copa del Rey and the UEFA Champions League and ahead of Sunday's El Clasico against Barcelona. Additionally, multiple Spanish reports are claiming that Orlando Tchouameni and Fede Valverde were once again involved in a physical fight today that resulted in the captain being taken to hospital. Valverde allegedly hit his head on a table during that confrontation that required teammates to step in and break it up. And the IOC have lifted restrictions on Belarusian athletes competing in the Olympics, although restrictions on Russian athletes remain in place. Competitors from both countries had been banned from international competition following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, although some were permitted to compete as neutrals. In a statement confirming the decision, the Olympic body say athletes' participation in international competition should not be limited by the actions of their governments, including involvement in a war or conflict. Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
4:45, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. If you're heading in or out of Benoni, you might find yourself a little slower than you'd like to be. Details of that, plus all the other traffic news with Karabo Chali.
Yeah, that's in the Ekurhuleni, Benoni, Boksburg area. Traffic remains a bit sluggish on Atlas Road, approaching the N12. If you're heading into Bedfordview, you can expect about a 20-minute delay in Edenvale, R24 westbound from Edenvale Road to the Kilulis interchange. In Kloerkoop, you can still expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on Allendale Road, heading towards Zurfontein Road due to an earlier accident. Also driving through Alex, heading towards Germiston. Traffic pressure N3 south from the Batoon interchange to Van Buren. Joburg CBD, that's traveling towards Poisons. Bumper-to-bumper traffic. M1 southbound from Killarney Bairns to the Crown interchange. Sandton also, traffic is a bit sluggish, heading towards Midrand. M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands all the way to the Batoon interchange. And finally, in Tshwane, Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD. Slow-moving traffic on Eskiam Patlele between Wormhagen and the R80. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand and what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities, and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight. John is on X.
At John Perlman.
702 Drive. Okay, let's do some music. We were asking you what is the oldest song in your playlist, I don't know, in your music library or whatever. We've been playing you a track from Earth, Wind and Fire. We're playing it because producing today's show is Ketem Kize, and this is one you said 1975. Sure, how old was I in 1975? 16. Okay, so getting into it as well. But this is an oldie for you.
Yeah, I wasn't even born then myself, John.
So how do you pick up Reasons by Earth, Wind and Fire, apart from the fact that they're a great band?
Yeah, so a few days ago, one of the people I follow on X asked, what's your favorite live album to listen to? Okay. And then I had a long list of them, and Earth, Wind and Fire's Gratitude was there. And I remembered how I used to enjoy listening to Reasons. I just started listening again and again and again.
So was it playing in your home when you were growing up?
Yeah, it was, definitely. Okay. And I was actually heartbroken when I didn't get to see them in Cape Town. They performed for the Cape Town International Jazz Festival some years back, but you know.
Yeah. I missed that as well. I would have gone to hear them sing September. Now, Karabo Charlie, you're going to take us even further back with your song choice, admittedly only by 5 years. Who you got and why?
I understand in your DJing days, John, this was your go-to song.
It was one of them.
So it's the Jackson 5's ABC. I love it. Actually, I've got a few of the Jackson 5 songs on my playlist, and I was kind of struggling to pick one. I'll Be There or ABC, but then since we want to get into the vibe and the groove, let's go for ABC.
Okay, let's take a listen. The Jackson 5. Only their second album spent a fortnight at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. ABC, the Jackson 5. So, what is the oldest song on your playlist and what's the story behind it? 072 702 1702. Let's hear from you.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving, they are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Need a little magic in your weekend? At the Magical Marble Family Fest, you'll find a luxury playground for everyone. It's a day out in the sun, full of activities for all ages, carnival rides, exciting performances, and Joburg's finest flavors, where every moment feels elevated, every space feels magical, and every ticket opens the door to moments your family will never forget. Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com, another grand collaboration with Investec, in partnership with 947, this 9 and 10 May at James and Ethel Gray Park.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is enjoy yourself. With Norwegian Cruise Line, you can sail to over 400 destinations worldwide effortlessly. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
And Dr. John, my oldest song is I'd Rather Go Blind. I just can't remember the lady's name right now. But yes, I'd Rather Go Blind. I think it's Aretha or something, not Aretha. But it's I'd Rather Go Blind by that lady. And whenever I turn on my Bluetooth or my YouTube, she's the first lady that I play. It doesn't matter what type of music I want to listen to. She's the first lady that I play. I think Beyonce did a remix and Vusinova did a remix as well of that song. Thank you. Bye.
Good afternoon, John and team. Nice one today as well. My oldest song in my list will be Barbara Streisand, Guilty. Yeah, that one. That's the one. Thanks, John. Bye.
Barbara Streisand working there with Barry Gibb, Guilty from 1980, the oldest song on your playlist. By the way, I'd Rather Go Blind. Many covers done of it, but the original, if that's what you're listening to from that first voice note, Etta James from 1967.
Afternoon, John and the team. I grew up in a jazz family, so I used to listen to jazz a lot. There's a track, I don't know if you'll have it, from Pharoah Sanders, Message from Home. It's called No Zippo. It plays for 9 minutes, but it's a lovely piece. So that's what I grew up with. Pharoah Sanders, No Zippo. It's Veronica from Spray View. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dada John and the listeners of 702 Land. Great show as always. So when it comes to playlist, the oldest song that I have on my playlist currently, I think is Toto Africa. I think it's the oldest song that I have currently that is playing on my gym playlist and my traveling playlist. Thank you. Great show as always.
Hear the drums echoing tonight, and she hears only whispers of some quiet.
All the way back to 1982. When I look at things from the 80s, I think, oh no, that was quite recent. And then, as the Americans would say, I do the math. It was a while ago, 44 years ago. This is a long time ago, though. Joan Westeen, A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. It was the first album I ever owned. Gino Vanelli, Brother to Brother, is what comes to mind for Shadow. Lirato's oldest song is Black President by Brenda Fassie. And Eunice, Nina Simone, My Baby Just Cares For Me, came out in 1959. I heard it at a musical fountain in the 1990s. Kazi goes to Sam Cooke and the song Chain Gang. The oldest songs in your playlists. Wish we had more time. Let's see what else we can fit in.
Hello, John and team. A song that I really like is that's going back, I don't know how many years, is Barbara Streisand and Barry Gibb, What Kind of Fool. Thanks for a great show. Bye.
Hey, John, great show. Hope you're keeping warm. Oldest song is Sean from Springs, by the way. Oldest song is Ray Charles and Hit the Road, Jack. And Don't You Come Back. Yeah. Anyway, have a good one.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Ray Charles, Hit the Road, Jack. Perry, my oldest song is Horse with No Name by America. I first heard it on the Breaking Bad series. Yeah, they used music wonderfully well in what was a terrific TV series. Kim asked an interesting question. Does classical music count? I've got Bach on my playlist. I suppose we were thinking more of popular music, but hey, it's our question, your answer. So Bach is fine. Mine is Ma by Rare Earth 1968. Says Dudu Zile. Reminds me of my late brother who made my mother pay for that LP as a cash on delivery. Your brother was brave.
Hi John, Morne here. Not really the completely oldest, but quite an old song that pops up is Percy Sledge, My Special Prayer. Comes up on the playlist when I'm driving.
Percy Sledge from 1967. 3 years later, he was actually in Johannesburg performing at the Empire Theatre in August of 1970. That's it from all of us at 702 Drive. I hope you've had a good day. As Mornay said, hope you're keeping warm. Yeah, it's pretty cold right now, and we're out of here. This has been 702 Drive. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the Agri Trends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. We get it. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, with no certainty about what will happen in the Middle East, Moody's is warning of the hit our economy is taking, but is optimistic government will lower its debt levels. Cabinet says load reduction will end by December next year, while Eskom strikes more deals with non-paying councils. Chicken producers have another crack at stopping US chicken on the bone imports. Lasaka CEO Lincoln Marley on your radio tonight. And an investment school. Should you move away from public markets to private markets? All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Maki Malapo. The World Health Organization says the hantavirus remains a limited outbreak and there's no need for public mask mandates yet. The organization held a media briefing today at its Geneva headquarters in Switzerland on the hantavirus. The WHO says there's only 8 confirmed cases with 3 deaths. The organization says